to add source. There we go. So I should be audible now. Everybody let me know if I am. But yeah, everybody, it's been a wild one, hasn't it? It's been a long season. It's been a whole bunch of ups. It's been a whole bunch of downs. And whew, what a year, right? So I have a feeling, just given the nature of today's stream, right? I've been thinking about it. Like, I had work today. We've got family time with Thanksgiving coming up, obviously, which everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. But I have a feeling it's going to be a more intimate gathering of us Bears fans this evening compared to the usual, say, 150 up to 250 people that we get on average. I tend to think that it's just going to be us. So, like, smaller group, that's fine. We'll go through the game all the same. We'll make sure that everybody gets to bed at a reasonable hour. This probably won't be a 1 a.m.er, to say the absolute least. But we've got a lot more license to go through. And what's the word? Like, I can answer, not that I wouldn't normally answer questions, for instance, but if y'all have questions, I mean, there's only so many of us at this point, so I'm more than happy to talk about any of them, especially as we get things kicked off. I mean, like, let's start at the top, right? We've got the, yeah, right, Derek, and reasonably angry. I mean, for crying out loud, can we just call a spade a spade? Derek, I'll speak to something that I can't believe that I'm saying, or, well, maybe I just wouldn't have been... Maybe I would have been surprised if I heard myself say it years ago, but now that I'm where I am, I feel like I need to at least call out, right? That I stand by the overwhelming majority of my evaluations about Mitch Trubisky, because a lot of the things that we talked about were, in particular, they were talking about things that were on the table that we could visibly see him mess up. But that said, I mean, watching the Nagy offense slowly but surely, week over week, and watching Fields struggle within it, and watching the way that I feel like they are, watching the way that whether it's Nagy or Dalton, or not Nagy or Fields, already getting tongue-tied, you could tell, but like watching the way that this season has played out, watching the way that the Nick Foles offense played out last year, watching the handcuffs that I've seen put on all sorts of quarterbacks, it is wild that we are where we are. I mean, like, I tend to think that the 2018 offense was the best offense Matt Nagy put on the field. I mean, let's talk not numbers. Like, let's talk scheme, right? I really think it's gotten worse and worse and worse over year, to the point where this year, like, we could pick out specific plays to talk through, and we will this evening, that are, I mean, borderline laughable. Like, I try to be as moderate as possible. You know, I try to be metered so that when I say something is really bad, that I mean that it's really bad, and I don't try to tell you that everything is either DEFCON 5 or Bears winning the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's why we talk through, when we're going through Fields, like, there are most of the throws that are not going to put him in Canton that he's made. We talk about that we're trying to keep a level head here, but goodness gracious, some of the conceptual things throughout this game are just so, I would use the word disturbing, but the truth is I'm quite apathetic about them at this point, and it makes me curious. I don't know if I'll ever go back and rewatch the 2018 games again, just because I have happy memories and I kind of want to leave them there, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were some things that Matt Nagy easily could have done to potentially get more juice out of the lemon of Mitch Trubisky per se, but I don't know. I feel for him in this moment, if only because if Matt Nagy did harm the career of Mitch Trubisky, I feel like that would really suck on a human level. I'm surprised we're starting there too. But Derek, I know you talked about it weeks ago, about how Fields at this point is going to struggle to match a lot of Trubisky's statistical records as a rookie. And I mean, I'm still thinking about it. Fields turns in a today, like on Sunday, where he picks up 75 yards or 79 yards, goes 4-11. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I think he played well, and I'm not about to tell you that I think he played. No, I mean, I'm not going to tell you he played well, because that's not the point. The point is that I know when I went back and watched it, my opinion of Fields improved a little bit, if only because I watched a lot more of what was going on around him, and it's just rough. It's just so bad watching this Bears offense. And I mean, it's dead last in the league for a reason. It's playing a team that is 0-8-1 this weekend, and we will see who comes out on top. I mean, hey, at the very least, with Jared Goff playing and Andy Dalton on the other side, the Bears could be due, or Bears fans could be due for a tighter game, maybe a better football game. Better, meaning like closer, but it's a bummer that we are where we are. Like, it's the sort of thing that I look at and I keep finding myself just going back to this idea of, hey, maybe Matt Nagy was a much bigger problem or more than likely, if not obviously, Matt Nagy was a much bigger problem as he stuck around in Chicago than I wanted to admit, because I know I thought to myself, how could somebody who came in with such schematic nuance in 2018 degrade so hard? But he did. I mean, it's hard to see this 2021 offense as anything other than a total degradation, along with what we saw in 2020. I mean, the Foles offense was an ideated offense, right? Like the Foles offense was like Matt Nagy and the rest of his staff coming up with what they thought a functional offense would look like around a bad offensive line, and it floundered. I mean, like it was just bad, you know? So there's a lot to talk through. I mean, John, to your point, the roster is looking bad. Like there's no reason to specifically belabor that point, but I will tell you that in my honest opinion, like there are plenty of people that I think would flame Cole Kmet, who I think looks fine. I think Darnell Mooney is getting a little too much hate for a number 2, potentially number 3 wide receiver, but he's somebody that you could, I don't want to say count on too heavily. Sam Mustipher had his best game of the season in this game. I don't know much about the center across from him, but I would tell you with a straight face that I thought Sam Mustipher made some of the best plays I've seen him make in 2021 in this game, which, not a high bar. I mean, I have been borderline mean to Sam Mustipher in being critical of him, but all the same, I thought he played pretty well, like in this game, relatively speaking, especially. Borum is starting to, he looked better in run blocking. Doesn't mean he looked good. It means he looked passable, for instance. But, I mean, yeah, it's the sort of thing that the roster is not in a great spot, John. It'll take some time. Like, I don't think it'll be crazy time, right? I don't think turnarounds in the NFL are all that long in the tooth, but it might take a rumbling and bumbling 2022 season before a 2023 season, like, that gets better. But we'll have to see. I mean, certainly, what do y'all feel like starting with? I know we could go on both ends. Like we could talk defense, we could talk offense, we could talk Fields versus Dalton. The funniest part about Dalton, because I was just watching this, right? Like I was just finishing up just preparation. The funniest part about watching Andy Dalton in this offense is that I would tell you with a very straight face that Dalton caught all the breaks that Fields hasn't, and I don't think it was all due to his play. I mean, Fields played a game that I don't think he would want to play again, to say the least. But there were a whole bunch of these plays that I know I looked at, and I'm like, oh man, that was bad. Let me find some decent ones. Okay, so for instance, look, it's nothing specific and crazy. I think we are, as a matter of fact, and Envy Dice tied for first in sacks. But let me see. Yeah, no, Draco. It's wild. Like the Ravens, functionally speaking, didn't respect Dalton at all. Like they went cover 1, they went cover 0, they went 8-man boxes pretty consistently. It was wicked and wild just seeing the difference in treatment that Dalton got compared to Fields. But hey, that's no excuse. Last thing I'm trying to do is be an excuse maker. But it was, but yes, like that happened, that defensive shift. We can start by talking a little bit about Dalton. I don't say this to disparage him, only to point out certain, like, just to remind everybody the player that we were watching, right? Because we saw that 60-yard screen pass, we saw the 22-yard completion, and he follows it up immediately. What you're going to see is, let me make sure I've got the routes correct. Okay, so this is a fairly standard pattern that the Bears run a whole lot, where basically you get into a bunch set, and what you're going to do is you're going to have Mooney run a spot route. I think this is Kmet run a post route behind him, and then Jimmy Graham is going to kick out into the flat, and the reads are 1, 2, 3 usually. And Dalton, for some reason, sees the Jimmy Graham flat route. Because, look, in my own studies of Dalton, I've always seen him be pretty predetermining. He doesn't necessarily like to read what's on the field and instead likes to pick where he's throwing before the ball is snapped. And here he decided he was going to throw to Graham, but he misses Graham by quite some margin as the ball obviously heads over here, right? And if you take a look at Mooney and Kmet, they're both absolutely wide open. I mean, Dalton was quick on the trigger to the point of, I won't want to say lunacy, but it was definitely funny watching the backup Chicago Bears quarterback come in and have very similar chemistry issues to what Fields had when he first came in as a starter. If anything, I think this is the key here, right? Finally, I'm finding where I wanted to go with this, is as we talk through some of the Dalton miscues, don't think of it as Andy Dalton sucks. Don't think of it as, wow, Fields is so good. Like, we'll talk, maybe I'll say some things that are similar to that, but the real key is, like, look at how out of sync the offense looks with Dalton in. The starter, the guy who got all the first team reps in the preseason, for crying out loud, and when he pops in, everything's just completely out of sync. Like, there's a lot of these plays that you'll see that are just weird, you know? And it's frustrating. I mean, there's a reason that I think everybody else in Chicago right now is kind of hastening the day that Matt Nagy finds himself out of a job. Nobody's cheering for... It's always weird, right? Because then you say, well, nobody's cheering for, or for somebody to get fired. Oh, in this case, we are. Like, the Bears are looking for change. I would love to see a full reset, frankly, with both Dalton and, or not Dalton, but Nagy and Pace going out the door. But Bears followed it up with a nice little run. I always like these sorts of things. It's fun watching the Bears run the ball well, if only because what you're basically just going to see here is standard outside zone. Jimmy Graham ferries this guy along. Borum does a decent job. He started to become a hug blocker. Like, if you take a look at what he's doing in the running game, he even got tagged with a holding that, James Daniels at this point, like, grabbed a holding call at later in the game that I'm pretty sure was 100% on Borum. But you see this outside zone stuff. Borum is finding his footing in the running game as this hug blocker, for instance. But he gets enough of 50 that Montgomery is able to make a play with it and get the heck on upfield for a nice little gain. And then I loved this one, if only because we'll go back and I'll show you Fields' version, because it doesn't make as much sense without Fields' version, right? But so the Bears run Y-cross, which looks like, let me draw it up for you, realizing now that I can do that. So the Bears are going to run like a scissors Y-cross, right? It starts with a post, then you've got Darnell Mooney coming across the middle, and the gist is that you want this corner to clear out on Bird's route right here, and then get Mooney coming across where he's going to basically just find space. That's Mooney's whole goal on this crosser, is to find wherever he can be and have Dalton, the quarterback, make the same read that he does, and you get a nice little completion. So they go with the play action fake, they get everybody into position, and obviously Mooney runs right into space. And you'll remember that Fields threw this just earlier in the game. And after this, after we talk through what the result is, I do want to go through that, because you'll see I think what's most frustrating about this Bears offense is the Ravens are playing, in this case, I think it's more of a cover 2-ish, but it kind of has the same feel of cover 3, where they've got this corner sitting on this side right here. Looks like this safety has picked up Bird, and he's running with it, 21 bailing back, with 44 more where you'd kind of expect a rolled cover 3 corner to be. But the key is that he's sitting in the, I don't want to call it the flat, because it's not quite the flat, but it's not quite the deeper area of the field either. He's taking away a true crossing route. You throw this ball to Mooney right here, it goes obviously straight through the defender for a reason. It's an interception. So Dalton hits the back of his drop, hesitates a little bit, just like Fields did when he ran this, and whizzes the ball just behind Darnell Mooney. And you watch it, it's funny, because both Fields and Dalton made the same read, that there's a Ravens defender right where you would anticipate the ball needing to go. So both of them make the adjustment to turn it into, whether you call it a back shoulder or basically just try to get Mooney either further upfield or turning around, and both can't make the play. There's some questions here about Mooney as a wide receiver 1 that I think are more than fair. There are some questions here about Mooney's ability to adjust. There's some questions about how do the Bears teach this. I think that's key. Something that's easy to forget is that even when I draw a play up, how are the Bears teaching the adjustments? What are their rules? I have no idea. What does Mike Fury think you should do in this case? Well, I certainly haven't gone to a clinic, and he wouldn't tell me if I did. So I don't know. What I do know is watching Dalton put the ball there, and then let me go ahead and find Fields' version. It's earlier in the game. Let me see here. 11:20. And then on Fields', same play. Post right there. Mooney coming across. Fields, play action snap. And right here, Fields is instead going to put the ball a little further out, hoping that Mooney adjusts his route from, say, there to there, seeing the corner, because that's what they did at OSU. They adjusted a lot of their routes based on the receivers and the quarterbacks reading leverage a certain way. And he whizzes the ball well out in front of Mooney, where had Mooney seen that, had Mooney been on the same page, they honestly might end up hooking up for a touchdown there. Now, again, who's at fault? Am I trying to pin Mooney for everything? No, forget that. That's not the point here. I think everybody can be awfully zero-sum sometimes. Should Fields have gotten a completion on this play? I sure think so. Both Fields and Dalton hit the back of their drop and pause with Mooney wide open, for crying out loud. Throw it now. Who says you can't, right? You let that ball go early and you're able to probably fit it into a window where you could get the ball to him before you have this corner getting involved. Fields tries to loft the ball out in front. Mooney doesn't even look for it until it's too late. They end up very much so off of each other's page, and later in the game with the other quarterback, the exact same problem happens the other way around, where Dalton tries to fit it into that tighter window and he can't do it either. It's wild watching just how many different ways the Bears offense can seemingly attempt to try to do something simple and make it look extraordinarily hard. And I think that's the key here with Matt Nagy, that you see this consistency where the Bears, whether it's that they don't quite know where they want to be, whether it's players that end up not on the same page as each other, whether it's players that can't hit proper technique in terms of their blocks or their routes, whether it's, in this case, Dalton coming in, who's your more standard West Coast quarterback, or a veteran, depending on how you want to see it, running the exact same play as Justin Fields, and both of them can't get the completion to the exact same receiver against almost exactly the same defense. It's maddening. I mean, it's wild. And it's the sort of thing that I look at and it's like, well, if you're going to start somewhere on the whole firing train, you should probably start with the coach. And I know that recently there was a report that came out talking about how Matt Nagy was going to be coaching his last game on Thursday. I very sincerely doubt that unless they lose. If they lose, I don't see why you'd keep him. If they win, it's weird to fire a coach after you won a game. And especially with Arizona and Green Bay in Lambeau coming up, you'll have plenty of places to fire Nagy, if not this weekend. But even so, I mean, we'll see. I think we're all just sitting around waiting for it. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bears players are sitting around waiting for it at this point. They just lost to a UDFA quarterback, for crying out loud. I hear you, Blackentolism. I just feel like it's wild to me to see they used to pass the ball with at least some success, but instead, I mean, kind of like you're getting at Envy Dice. It's wild to see just how much the technique of everything, like everybody doesn't, it feels like they're just not on the same page and haven't been for the better part of 2 years at this stage. I mean, it's wild to just watch this offense and see whether it's Dalton or Fields, how out of sync everybody is. They came out of the bye week looking confused on a route to route basis. That wasn't Fields' only, call it like a miscommunication with a wide receiver. He had a couple more. Dalton had a couple more. Like, whether that's whether you want to call that a bad throw or a miscommunication, it certainly feels like, Mooney wasn't ready for it. The play after this, of course, you're going to see Larry Borum false start, so the Bears end up getting backed up. But let me see here. So we got 2 more plays at this stage, and like in this drive, Borum false starts. They then go through on, let me see, they called a ton of 7-man pass protection. You're going to see functionally everybody stay back and pass protect. In this case, it actually may be 8-man. No, it's not. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at this stage. So they get a nice little curl and out. So that's going to be like a curl route and an out route. Dalton does a decent job waiting for it, throwing, placement, fine, good enough. If anything, it's nice to see the offense pick up some yardage for a change here on 2nd and 15, where, again, he watches the out route to Mooney, comes back for the curl route to Goodwin, hits him, protection, solid. Not a ton here for on this play. If anything, I appreciate watching Borum just because we're watching the kids, right? I mean, whether it's Fields, whether it's Khalil Herbert, whether it's Jalen Johnson, like the focus is officially about the young guys. But then on this next play, as I'm sure you're going to see, Goodwin's thinking go and Dalton is thinking curl. I mean, it's all game, y'all. Like, as soon as Dalton came in, you could see them just, everybody was lost in terms of where to be on about a third of the plays. And Dalton's not a good enough quarterback, as solid as I think Andy is, because I don't want to sound like I'm just tearing the guy wide open, right? But as solid as Andy is, he's not somebody who's going to overcome, by the strength of his own arm, roughly 25% of your plays being junk plays. And that kind of thing on a third down blows my mind, because I mean, obviously you would hope that everybody knows what you're doing on third down. Just notice James Daniels gets pretty well whipped on this one. I thought he had a good game overall. Everybody loses a rep or two occasionally. I'll give you one more look so that we can watch 45 versus Larry Borum right here. Let's see what we got. Solid. Like, I think sometimes everybody can overrate and they want those dominating offensive tackles and offensive linemen. But hey, as long as the quarterback doesn't get hit, you did your job in my book. But so that's 2 miscommunications on the same drive. Next play, we can keep going, and we will with Dalton at this stage. But I don't want to be overly negative. There's just, as I watched this game, let me phrase it this way. As I watched this game in particular, I was more convinced than I had been in quite some time that you gotta fire Matt Nagy. I mean, I knew since about that week 3 Cleveland game that this offensive staff was really struggling to put quality game plans together and scheme appropriately for quarterbacks. But this game was a travesty. Coming out of the bye, you get to face the Baltimore Ravens without their primary player, and you end up holding them to 16 points. Like, let's take that game-losing touchdown where the drive sucked and the Bears defense shouldn't have allowed it in the last minute 40. You still hold the Ravens to 16 points. Wouldn't we agree that you hope you win that game? The fact that the Bears scored 14 and we're almost looking at each other saying, hey, the Bears, they scored 2 touchdowns. That's a little better than usual. That in and of itself is just such a signal of where we're at, in my opinion, that things have gotten that low and we're almost wondering whether the defense blew it. I don't know. I mean, Bears are in a tough spot. Tough spot. But so, hey, Kusai, we're just talking about how, to give you a quick refresher, we're talking about how the Dalton-led offense looked all lost and discombobulated, and how it's not a sign about Dalton, but we're basically just talking through Matt Nagy and how a lot of the things that they did, clearly the team came out confused. It felt like they didn't 100% know where they were supposed to be at just about any point. I mean, you say same old Bears, Envy Dice. I feel like the same old Bears were good defense, a solid running game. Well, I guess it was then, wasn't it? I'm sure they've had their fill of, like, offensive gurus in the past. Or maybe it's just Nagy, but a lot of you older Bears fans may know better than me. I've only been around for 11 years, and I don't remember anybody calling Ron Turner an offensive guru at the time. But let's take a look here. They punt. Ball goes to Dalton. This play was hilarious. Yeah, Martz. Martz sounds about right, Akusai. But so I thought this play was funny. The Bears take a deep shot. It looks like, I think this is Bird, makes a double move, heads up field, while Goodwin heads out, or like out on an out route. And I can't tell if Dalton just doesn't think he can make this throw, because I've seen Fields do it plenty of times, but he doesn't want to throw the out route. And this isn't open by the time Bird gets about here. Not to say that it's not technically open. It's just that Dalton's not going to step in and rip it to the 10 on the other end. He doesn't have that kind of juice in the arm. So Dalton fades back a little bit further, ends up caught with a rush, sees Jimmy Graham out of the corner of his eye, takes the check down. And I like pointing out this one, not because it's a 2-yard gain, not because it's anything special, but because one theme you'll hear me talk about in this game in particular is that I want to see Fields learn to hit his check downs. Sometimes the play is over. And when the play is over, throw it to one of your athletes and let them make a play, because while this could have been a 3-yard loss, Jimmy breaks the first tackle he sees, ends up turning it into a 2-yard gain. This is nothing huge. This is nothing good. But Fields at this point in his career considers his own legs his check down, if not his primary check down. And I feel like in a lot of the situations where he takes off and runs, if he stays a little patient, gets David Montgomery popping out of the backfield and just pops the ball over to him, it's in better hands and he doesn't take a hit, which, as we saw, was part of the reason he wasn't able to finish this game. It's something in his development that we've talked about for a little while. We talked about it on the Pittsburgh game where it's like he had his checkdowns, but he'd take off and run. And I remember what we said at the time was, as long as it keeps working, it's not a problem. This game didn't work so well. And I'd love to see Fields learn to hit those checkdowns, which that I think not only will help him stay healthy, but it'll make a good use of like the talented running backs that the Bears have. And yeah, Derek, I mean, this it's sad how much like we end up celebrating as Bears fans within this Nagy offense that they lined up correctly and ran the play. This next one's basic outside zone. I, honest to goodness, cannot tell you. You make the call, Bears fan. So they're running outside zone, which means, as I would understand it, Jimmy Graham takes the edge defender, Peters takes him, and I'm just going to keep drawing it out for everybody. It'll be easier to understand when you get to the backside. But the Ravens, by the way, they loved loading the box up. Count it. You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, the Ravens did not respect Andy Dalton in the slightest. Now, granted, now that I think about it, it helps when you're looking at an 8-man box to remember that they've got 10 men all bunched up right here if you count Andy Dalton. So it's actually not the perfect example of a stacked box, but the Ravens did load things up, and Peters and Graham end up taking on the same guy. The guy who I marked Peters for runs straight down Main Street and makes the play because, you know, why wouldn't he? And I swear David Montgomery is like Dave Montgomery's like something out of a TV show or an anime, like depending on your preference, where I swear whatever the play was supposed to get, if it was supposed to lose a yard, David Montgomery will get 3, maybe 5 yards out of it. Like, he's got this magical ability to take a you're donezo scenario and turn it into a modest positive gain. But Peters and Graham both take on the same guy. I guess it's not surprising that they may have a double team for Peters, but absolutely nobody goes for 56 right here. And I don't think it's because the defensive lineman did anything specific. The Bears just didn't block this guy. and he runs right down. Montgomery barely slips out of a tackle, gets like 3. This stuff's just consistent, y'all. Bears catch a break. Defensive offsides. Borum tags the guy on it right here. Hard count, comes across, jumps up 5 yards their way. But it's just a mess overall. It's a mess with Fields. It's a mess without Fields. If it's a mess without Fields and with Fields, maybe it's just a mess. And that's at least where I'm at. So somebody mentioned this in the chat. I did find this one interesting because obviously on the broadcast, you're sitting there thinking, okay, so remember, it's 3rd and 1, right? 3rd and 1. So all you got to do is get the first down. But I respect the attitude on deep ball hero Andy Dalton, whatever he's feeling at the time, thinking, okay, I've got Mooney on a go route. Let's freaking do this, yo. Launching the ball, stapling a very good throw, all things told. Like, let me show you guys what this looks like on the other end, and you'll see it. This is a throw I would have actually expected a catch on. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on Darnell in particular, but as far as I am concerned, when you get a throw from, looks like that's about the 42-yard line all the way to the 15-yard line, and you leave it in bounds and catchable on the sidelines, I would hope your NFL receiver pulls it down. It's a tough catch. I mean, that over-the-shoulder view that you're trying to pull down is incredibly hard. It would actually look like this, especially because it kind of staples it to his face. But I'm looking at that camera angle right there. It's like I thought when I originally watched it that it was closer to over the white line area, but if Fields had thrown that ball, I'd tell you it was good placement. If Aaron Rodgers threw that ball, I'd tell you it was good placement. I think Andy Dalton placed it well. The funniest part about this, because somebody mentioned it in the chat, is Cole Kmet is so open. He is so open right here. I'm shocked Andy didn't look. I mean, granted, it's a predetermined throw. We've talked about this a billion times. If it's a shot play, it's a shot play. And he got what he wanted, so I don't blame him for throwing it. But it is wild just watching this back on film, seeing just how open 85 gets, passing his block off and turning around, that you're looking for the line to gain right here. I'm almost surprised he didn't find him. Like you're saying, Ian B, I love the idea of going downfield. Getting aggressive is never something that I'll fault anybody for. But that was one that as Kmet broke away from the line, I know I found him on my initial watch through and went, oh, the all-22 vision is gonna get mad when it comes to, like, this is the power of the freeze frame just a little bit, sure, but also it was wild seeing it. I like the throw. I thought Mooney had... What'd you guys think of Mooney's day? Like, no kidding, Akusai. Like, Mooney ends up with 124 yards off of 6 catches and 16 targets, if memory serves. Might have been more targets than that. But, so Mooney had an inefficient day. Oh, Lord, this is the 4th and 1. I actually forgot this was that drive. But so, yeah, Mooney ends up with a good day overall. Like, especially statistically, but he got force-fed a ton of targets and wasn't outstandingly efficient with them. 60-yard play, 60-yard touchdown was huge. Great play on that. Tons of targets, a lot of yards, a touchdown, only 5 catches, so 11 incompletions in his direction. I thought he was fine. I feel like he had some plays where you would want him to be better, and other plays like the 60-yard score where you shrug your shoulders and you say, well, that was just phenomenal, and put 7 points on the board from 60 yards out. So you get a lot of license there. Overall, I'd give him a B, but what do you guys think? Anyways, if you're wanting more evidence for Nagy trouble, so it's 4th and 1. The Bears decide in their infinite wisdom that they are going to line up in the Wildcat, which has been a pretty that's yes, Akusai. You're exactly where my head's at. Like, The Bears have been running a ton of Wildcat, and that's been relatively successful. But part of what made it successful is that they've always had somebody either here or here, whether it was Mooney or Khalil Herbert. Like, we'll put a little 24 there, we'll put a little 11 there. Like, they've always had somebody where that person runs with the action of the play, and if Montgomery doesn't like it, he takes it and runs it the other way. Simple read option, but hey, that's how you build those options into a running play, which is exactly why, for some reason, on 4th and 1, in Nagy's infinite wisdom, we decided that instead we were going to make it a one-read dive, and we were going to put the guy, David Montgomery, who loves running inside more than any other running back that I've seen in a long time. Like, he wants to take it between, let's see if we can draw them all. He wants that gap, that gap, that gap, that gap. This isn't working. But he wants to stay within the A, B, and C gaps. He takes the snap. He sees the smallest little crease right here. He says, yeah, I can get that line to gain. Takes this linebacker on one-on-one. I think that's Daniels who loses the block, and Montgomery doesn't get it. Which, of course, the backbreaker here is that this whole left side does a pretty good job sans Alex Bars. Like, you take a look at this, and they've got it under control. They've got it under control right here. They've got 50 under control, at least for now. 19 and 85 have what they want. If Montgomery takes this down the line, maybe you get something. Even if you just potentially give it to Herbert or Mooney to run that way, and Montgomery can threaten to come back the other direction, you've got more options. But instead, we decided that we were going to run a play that we've basically never run all year here on 4th and 1. No sense doing a standard outside zone handoff, right? No sense bringing your starters on the field. Instead, we got to bring in the Alex Bars package. We got to get Jimmy Graham and Jesse James on the field for 4th and 1. We got to bring in all the guys who we don't normally want to convert these things so that David Montgomery can take on number 56 in just wide open space, all on his own, end up getting smushed. This is where I think they call Borum for holding. Like, it's listed on James Daniels, but if you watch Daniels, he doesn't do anything wrong. Like, Daniels is getting pushed over there. Borum's got his arms around 92, and you can see 92 wrench a little bit right there. I think that's what drew the holding call out, but hard to particularly tell. I mean, John, you talk about how we can't reuse a play on a critical down. I swear Matt Nagy thinks or seems to act as if he can't reuse a play ever. Like, he seems to act as if, okay, well, you know what Fields likes? Fields likes throwing, I know this isn't Fields and I know that, but Fields likes throwing out routes. So let's throw one at the start of the game, and then let's never throw another out route again. And I'm tired of it. I mean, it's beyond getting too cute. It's just like, I hate the phrase getting too cute, if I could be honest with you, JX LaFleur, purely because getting too cute implies that, sorry, Akusa, that's pretty good. But so getting too cute implies that there is a not cute. This is just Nagy outthinking himself. He outthinks himself what feels like constantly. 4th and 1, let's go Wildcat, no read option. I'm tired of it. I mean, I'm sure everybody is, right? It's something that we can smile about in pain, but it's rough. It's rough watching this. It's something that I think is fair to say we're done with, you know? But so anyways, let's move on to the last couple, plays. Oh, what is this? Censored, I actually tend to disagree. Like, I personally think that, Supreme Overlord Putin, you're right about that. That's the one play we seem to use a couple times. But so, Censored, I would tell you that I think that the reps for Fields have still been invaluable. I think that there's a lot of things, just calling a spade, that Fields has had to learn the hard way this season. I think there are a bunch of moments where he has had a bit of a wake-up call in terms of what he can and what he can't get away with. Let's not forget, Justin Fields, for as much as we would talk about how he's a polished prospect and he came out of a five-star quarterback, comes out of a high pedigree college, Justin Fields has also never been in a situation where he wasn't just the best athlete on the field. And you could make the argument that he is. I would disagree with you. I think that unless you're Lamar Jackson, at the quarterback position, you are not the best athlete on the field. Whether it's Roquan Smith, whether it's Akeem Hicks, whether it's Eddie Jackson, whether it's like pick a player, a defensive player, there is always somebody more athletic than you. And I think that that's okay. Learning how to be a quarterback within that environment takes time. And in that way, I would suggest, or at least put forward the idea that Fields was always going to be a little raw because his short game was so poor coming out of college. I mean, he would sit back in the pocket and wait for 3.5, 4.5 seconds. And everybody loves that kind of patience when you've got an offensive line in front of you. And then you've got Sam Mustipher, Cody Whitehair, James Daniels, Jason Peters, and so on and so forth, that like, you've got them in front of you, he's still waiting patiently, and you're like, okay, maybe we don't do that. And so it's the sort of thing that I know I would look at and not critique Fields. I mean, we actually have critiqued Fields in the past. I would more say that this is a real learning experience for him. The time that he has spent, even in the crappy Nagy offense, is still helpful. Because he knows at this point, like, whether it's John DeFilippo telling him, whether it's his own personal quarterbacks coach telling him, because everybody has one, somebody's telling him this offense sucks. But being on the field for NFL reps is huge. It really is. Like, there's no lesson that you're gonna learn without Bowser on the Ravens, or Adrian Amos, or Darnell Savage, or some other defender teaching it. Like, even exactly like you're saying, John, even with a bad offense, he has sped up a lot. I think that's great. Like, we have seen Fields, I think anyways, evolve from a player that was talented but so raw he should barely be playing quarterback at that point, to a player that I think had a bad game in this game. And even within that bad game, still showed his stuff on 3 throws, which, hey, it's nothing to write home about. You know what I mean? Nobody's putting 79 yards, 4 for 11 on the day in Canton, nor should you. But I think you guys would agree with me that then, I've got the perfect play for you guys, right? So let's see here. It's 57-20. We can skip a couple of the plays that don't matter so much. Like, we're going to skip over an RPO right here, or like, this is a quick pass that just doesn't really matter, you know, like they pick up 3 yards. Welcome back to the Dalton offense. It was 2nd down and they picked up 4 on a pass play. Yeah. Some West Coast stuff can be a little frustrating, I gotta be honest with you. But so then along comes 3rd down, and we'll get there. And the Bears are gonna run. It was hard. I was trying to pick out what this was, because basically Mooney comes across in motion and he's going to run a very weird route where he comes inside, goes up, steps out a bit, and then goes out right there, while this receiver either runs a go or a very skinny post. I think it's Seattle. It's got a lot of the same vibes of a scissors play, but you're going to see, like, this receiver, by the way, just runs a curl. Shocker, right? But so the key is Mooney, and he's running what is kind of a post and kind of a very deep out, but Dalton's going to let the ball go crazy early right here. Mooney's actually not out of his initial break. He takes another step and then breaks out right there, and the ball comes way over his head. That I don't know what y'all were thinking when you watched this play, but I know where I was surprised was that I found myself saying, Fields has pretty much hit those all season. Like, they've never run this specific play, but throws downfield, Fields has not missed often. Like the one that we showed earlier, the adjustment play, that's a rare one. But recently he's been, I don't want to say automatic, but very, very good on throws between 15 and 25 yards whenever the Bears do get them open. And so to see Dalton missed this was shades of Foles, Mitch, Foles, Mitch, Dalton, I guess, kind of counts. Chase Daniel was in this category of, just wait till the Bears get a quarterback. I was like, okay, Fields is starting to play well enough that I would expect him to hit that. And when he got his chances throughout this game, he did. But that does not excuse Fields for some of the sacks he's taken, for some of the other mistakes that I think he's making, the littler ways that I think he could grow as a quarterback, even though this offense is not doing him any favors, and I would not pretend it was. But so Dalton misses that third down. I do want to talk about one more. So we can, when we go to a little bit of miscues, Luke Nien, let me take a look what you're seeing, what here. Let's see. Fields holding a grudge, is being told to start him. So Luke, what I would tell you personally is that I don't think I don't think professionals hold a grudge. Maybe I just don't want to believe they do, right? Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, now that there's 73 people here, I did break out the Club Dub shirt because I figure we're not going to get many chances to wear it often, right? Especially now that we're at the end, perceivably, of the Nagy era, I figure we get one last use of this and move on. But so yeah, I mean, I hear you, Akusai. Tony Correnti was a real piece of work. But Luke, I think Andy's play calls feel pretty different because a lot of the plays that he's running are old school West Coast things where he doesn't even necessarily have to tell him, he doesn't have to explain to Andy how to run them. Maybe part of it's that he just knows that Andy gets the ball out of his hand a lot faster than Fields does, who tends to try to identify one, maybe two receivers to throw to and really wait and see if those can get open, make a play with his feet after the fact. But maybe at this point, let me see, Draco, don't worry about it. Maybe there is a grudge aspect. I would be shocked if there was a grudge aspect for Nagy and Fields. I mean, Nagy seemed over the moon when they got to draft Fields, and Fields was a great shot at him keeping his job, but I don't know. I mean, it's wild at this point, watching just the ways. The other thing that I think made a big difference is, remember, this is the third down we were just looking at, and take a look at the way the Ravens lined up. Everybody's on the line of scrimmage. I mean, this whole area of the field is begging to be attacked, and this isn't really how they lined up with Fields at quarterback, and when they did, for some reason, Nagy, in his infinite wisdom, decided that he was going to run a bunch of curls. Maybe there is an element of he doesn't trust the rookie. Maybe. Truly, maybe that is. It's hard for me to read it any other way. I just don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the whole me as an analyst on YouTube questioning somebody's effort. I feel like I hear that on Bears podcasts from time to time, where it's just not sure that I'm not sure that Charles Leno's putting in the effort. Ooh, Eddie Jackson, not sure he's given it his best effort. He got paid and he slacked off. And I'm like, they're professional athletes. I think they're putting in effort. But that's just my 2 cents. Case, to bring you up to speed, we're starting with the Andy offense because what I wanted to basically talk through, and we already talked through some of them, so you may want to go back and rewatch it, is just the amount of miscues that happened when Andy jumped into the game. Because while we're about to go through all the field stuff, but I had to start by basically talking about how Akusai, come on now. I just felt like we had to start with Andy Dalton comes in as the Bears' backup quarterback, as the guy who got all the starter reps, and suddenly he starts throwing the ball to what feels like nowhere, whether it's missing wide receivers, whether it's miscommunicating clearly on where the receiver was supposed to be, whether it's this mistake, that mistake, somebody misreading something. It is wild to me just how often, regardless of quarterback, the Bears end up completely off the same page from each other. And at this point, I mean, if there was a game that I would point to and be like, Matt Nagy is done in Chicago, this was a great one for a litany of reasons. I mean, whether it was guys getting their route combination right, to quickly just one more time. I feel like I really like focusing on this one, if only because it is so clear to me that Dalton and Mooney, when they're running this route, so watch how many breaks Mooney has in this Seattle route. I'll draw it one more time so that we can all take a good long look at the wide angle. And here's a run. I think I backed it up too much. No, just a short little pass. But so we will, I'll draw it up one more time just for everybody who maybe joined right here. They're pulling Mooney across in motion, and then they're going to have him run. It feels like he goes in, up, just a tick out, and then he's supposed to come either straight out or closer to there, somewhere in this cone, right? But so then the outside guy is going to head up the field. The inside guy is going to take a little curl right here. And this route right here, the one that I want to focus on, is the fact that Dalton and Mooney end up completely off of each other's page. Whatever the route was supposed to be, Dalton throws it right there. Like, he's already raring to go. Mooney's not looking back for the ball. So if you're going to throw it that early, you got to know where the guy's going to be. And Mooney's first step, let's see if we can't back it up to where it was. Mooney's first step is straight out. And then he adjusts his route to try to pull it back towards the ball. But he steps out right there looking for it, clearly coming out for the ball as the ball floats over his head to right there, which frustrates me because you would hope that little stuff like this, for crying out loud, is like the things that at least Dalton would come in and you'd clean up. Guys ending up where they're supposed to be. But Mooney doesn't run, or Mooney doesn't step to where Dalton throws the ball, which is not like, sure, you want to pin it on Mooney? Doesn't hurt my feelings. You want to pin it on Dalton? Also doesn't hurt my feelings. When we eventually go through Fields' footage, if you want to say that that like Dalton or the Fields played a bad game, I'm here with it. You know, like, doesn't hurt my feelings to say that 4-11 for 79 yards is a bad game. At the same time, I think it's weird, if not suspicious, how often wide receivers and quarterbacks in this offense cannot seem to find each other on timing routes. I mean, in this game alone, we saw 2 curl routes where it feels like the throw hit the guy where they weren't expecting it and they didn't end up making a play. I mean, it's bananas. There are some of these things that are just bad throws, and we'll see a couple of those, but there were enough. I counted at least 8 of the Bears' 60 plays where the wide receiver and the quarterback just flat out miscommunicated across 2 quarterbacks, for crying out loud, coming out of a bye week. Like, as an analyst, what else am I supposed to say? I mean, when you watch what's going on with the Patriots offense, just to draw something up, right? Let's see. So you've got like a 3-bunch set or so on and so forth. Like, you'll end up with a whole bunch of routes where it's very clear that Mac Jones is able to basically pick a route and just sit on it. And if he likes what Mooney's doing against this corner, he can wait until Mooney has chosen a path and just throw the ball over there. Because Mooney wins the route right here, and then he takes a couple extra steps. Mac can sight up where he's putting the ball and just waft it over. I don't know if y'all watched the Patriots and the Falcons game, but one of the things that was so frustrating as a Bears fan was seeing how often they were able to run fun little things. So say Mooney's over here, like we're going to put him there, right? Where they would have one receiver come in, draw this linebacker, and head out. One other receiver go up and straight in. So as this guy left, as this receiver right here left the area, this one came through, and voila, you've got an easy completion for your quarterback who just dots the guy with one of, I think Mac is 30th in total air yardage on attempted throws right now. So, like, he's not throwing the ball far, but he's completing things. I mean, at one point he had 12 completions in a row, which, hilariously enough, whenever I think of, by the way, completions in a row, did y'all realize Nick Foles has the most completions in a row in NFL history with like 25 completions? It's wild to think that Nick Foles is most completions in a row in the NFL. He's most touchdowns in one game in the NFL, tied for that record. It's hilarious. But so, yeah, it's wild at some point when we watch the Bears offense versus what you're seeing in New England, which is to be jealous. Like, we don't have to be jealous of the Packers today, so put that on your bingo card. But it's wild watching this Bears offense and how hard they make offense look. Like, that's my key takeaway. It's not just offensive line. It's not just this or that. From the passing perspective, they seem to make offense so hard when it comes to little things like, I'm going to run this route, I'm going to get on the inside of my corner, and I'm going to run an out route. Nope, you threw it like it's a post route. Shoot, and not ending up making the play. I mean, thank goodness that they scored off of a bubble screen and a jailbreak double move, which, by the way, they don't run enough of the double moves. Like, I'm not even trying to be go deep all the time guy over here, but if you're going to run curls on 35% of your routes, throw some double moves in. Like, you've already laid the foundation for what you're doing. But so we would not be being, what's the word? Like, we wouldn't be being fair if we didn't immediately go through that final touchdown. I want to talk about both touchdowns. Who am I kidding? Dalton bounces that one, which is, neither here nor there. But so Dalton places a nice little ball right here. I think they're running like a double crossers where they've got Mooney coming up right there with, Cole Kmet coming across. Dalton's able to hit Kmet on a nice little route for like 10 yards. Nothing huge, nothing crazy. But if you take a look at Kmet's route, this is actually quite a good little view of it. I loved watching this. I mean, simple right here. Kmet gets his hands on the receiver or on the DB, breaks away. That's actually much better separation than he used to have. Like, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but Cole Kmet's separation is getting a little better. Now, does that mean he's Zach Ertz? Nobody said that. Like, does this even mean he's Robert Tonyan? Not necessarily. But little simple routes like this, look, maybe this is what he got out of tight end U, because this is how you're supposed to operate against smaller defensive backs, and certainly Mark Andrews did the exact same thing against the Bears defense, collecting almost every time he did. But so let's see, 40, let's talk about this one. So I was shocked that sitting at midfield, like, take a look at this. The Ravens line up in cover 0. There is no safety. Like, if you do want the Ravens' opinion on who they think Andy Dalton is, they think Andy Dalton will never throw deep. So I was shocked they left this open, because you're going to have Goodwin go down the field right there. I think it's Bird streak straight up the middle. Mooney goes down the sidelines. And this is so open that it makes me quite sad Dalton wasn't able to convert. Now, it's a tough throw, right? Bird, you would hope, toasts the corner even harder, but even that's pretty doggone open. Dalton lets the ball go right on time, and it's just a little too far. And hey, we've lived this life as Bears fans forever. Exactly, Akusai. They obviously think of Andy Dalton as one of the premier running threats in football, but watching this one in the game and watching it back, I was shocked to see that in a 4-minute situation, they left what would have been a touchdown wide open, and Bears missed it. Bummer. But so, let me see here. We have to talk about the touchdown pass before we move on. Bears take a false start, bump back to 4th and 11, which is hilarious. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I definitely thought that the Bears were I definitely thought the game was over right here. It's 4th and 11. The Bears are confused. They're getting things shuffled around. They're playing cover 0 again on 4th and 11, which is shocking. They've got 8 in the box just sitting here. I get you, ENB, on why they feel comfortable running cover 0, but I mean, so then they call, as Tony Romo astutely pointed out, they call an all-out blitz. Like, this pressure package, you don't run cover 0 to have one guy sit back. And by the grace of God, right, like, this defender has a free lane to Dalton with David Montgomery sitting right here, so clearly not blocking him, and he just doesn't cash in on it. He ends up slow-footed. Andy gets a double move on this right-hand side, and he's gone. I mean, he's so open that Andy could have, I'm not going to say I could have made this throw, because if you gave me 15 tries to throw a ball and hit even the remote area of the 30 from the 40-yard line falling backwards, I would fail every single time. This is not that easy. But for an NFL quarterback, this is about as easy a touchdown pass as touchdown passes get. If anything, it's shockingly in stride. Like, it's not the lollipop that I originally thought it was. I know I described it that way on the post-game podcast. That's being too hard on it, but it's not the world's best double move. It's just a perfect throw, or not a perfect throw. It's just a perfectly timed throw that is helped out by the fact that, again, this defender just basically doesn't rush. So the Bears end up going up against 10, and that's all right, as, what is it, Marquise Goodwin makes like the tiniest little stutter step and then just blows by the corner. Again, a 4th and 11. Like, I don't know what the Ravens are doing. I really have no idea why they thought this was the play to go with. You take a look at this play right here, like, watch Goodwin's route specifically. Like, he gives the tiniest little foot chop. To call that a double move is hardly fair, and then just annihilates him in the open field. And then he runs into the end zone, and the Bears take the lead. I mean, I was howling with laughter because, of course, Andy Dalton comes in, draws again. I have to point out, like, watch 21's body language. This is one of those things that if this happened to a Bears defender, we would be all over him, right? But so watch 21, and you'll see he gets a wide open gap right here to just rush straight through. I don't know what he's doing looking at specifically Cole Kmet, but you can just blow straight through right there. And that's wild. Exactly. Atheist pressure, or atheist for the cause. Like, the CBs are playing as if there's going to be instant pressure and all they've got to do is take the short one away. But he gets annihilated. So then this is where I forgot. This isn't even in my notes. We just have to talk about it, right? So Dalton takes a roughing penalty, and like right there, just gets smoked in the face. It's a good enough call. Like, nowadays, modern football, you can't hit people in the face, you know? And so Dalton takes a roughing the passer call, and if you don't know, that gives the Bears two options, right? Let me draw this up here. So 2 options, right? 2 options. 1, 2. Option 1 is 15 yards. I hate writing. I'm like, why do I do this all this stuff? At kickoff. The other is 1 yard at 2-point conversion. Okay? So those are your 2 options. And let's remember that the score at this point is 9-13. Okay? Bears are already up 4, right? Going up 5 doesn't help them at all. Going up 6 doesn't help them at all. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer to say that when you're defending a lead with 1:40 left, you want to go with option 1. You push the kickoff up forward. You take a shot at kicking the ball to that like short area, so between the 5 and the 1 yard line, and trying to down the guy at around the 10, make them go 90 seconds, right? Or what is it? Make them go 90 yards. Instead, the Bears decided that they wanted to go up +6, maybe, because they took a timeout. And that's not shown in the All-22. But with 1 timeout left, they call a timeout and instead decide that they're going to take the 2-yard conversion and bump it up to a 1-yard conversion so that they can try to go from +4 to not +5. We're going to strike that through to +6, which you still lose. The touchdown beats you all the same on any of these. The field goal, you win. It blows my mind that not only did they take a timeout, but then they come out of that timeout, and of course all they do is just run the world's most basic Cole Kmet pick play that does not work, because why would it? You've got Andy Dalton at quarterback now. Like, Akusai, maybe Tucker misses the extra point, but couldn't you run this play all the same on the 2-yard line with an equal degree of success? Like, Bunnery, it's one of those where, exactly like you're saying, I agree with going for 2. I have no problem with going for 2. Why run a pass play at the 1? Like, I guess my 2 cents is, if you are going to advance it, aren't you advancing it to run the ball? Like, aren't you advancing it to then get up under center, threaten the QB sneak, threaten the rolling handoff, and potentially roll out for like some quick thing to, I don't know, you could throw it to an offensive lineman, you could throw it to a tight end. Like, there's nothing wrong with the 2-point conversion. I have no issue with the 2-point conversion, and I'm not on the go up +5 gang. That's not me. We're not here for that. It's more to say, like, what are you doing taking the penalty and the timeout so that you can bump it up 1 yard to take the snap at the 7 anyways? Like, how are you doing this? And I mean, maybe, John, like, honestly, John, I believe you that I think that's exactly it. That the Bears took the penalty so that they could advance the ball and make the Ravens think they were gonna run it. Oh, surprise. They were gonna pass it all along, because goodness knows that the cornerbacks aren't going to play their, for some reason, they somehow realized or thought to themselves that the defensive line was going to do anything different, or that the corners weren't going to stick in man-to-man no matter what. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, being completely realistic here, like taking the jokes out of it, right? This is such a stupid decision. This is such a brain-dead, outthink-yourself decision. This is such the smart thing can't be smart. It must be dumb, so I'm going to do this the weird way. Like, calling a sprint option is not the problem, you know? Like, calling a sprint option at the 2, go for it. I don't really care. Like, sprint options have worked pretty well for the Bears. That's not the issue. Why do you take the timeout and take the penalty to advance the ball there, only to run a play that would have worked truly just as well from the 2-yard line, and then it doesn't even work? Like, you spent all of your assets on something that didn't help you, and then you wasted them anyways, and shocker, you needed them. Like, it blows my mind a little bit, but I doubt that's too surprising. But yeah, that hurt. Like, just seeing all this, I mean, it was the sort of play that I know I find myself looking at, thinking to myself that it's not specifically, wait, what is this? What are we talking about? The beer? Oh, the beer thing? Yeah. But so, this game was such a coup de grace to Nagy, in my opinion. Like, if you weren't already out, this game, it would shock me if you weren't. Like, let's go through the first drive. I think that Fields' first drive is a perfect example. Oh, Case, can I be honest? I don't even care about the headset nonsense. We already talked about it. They lined up David Montgomery, who's been killing it on zone read out of the Wildcat, without anybody to zone read off of in the Wildcat, and he botched the play. Like, is it David Montgomery's fault? Not necessarily, but why in the world do they act like it's just one thing? Like, let me go back to that just really fast, and then we'll move on. Like, but Case wasn't here. Case is a mod, so she gets extra privilege. But let me see here. It's 53-55. Because, for some reason, the Bears have been doing so well in the Wildcat, they decide, like, going back to this, that on 4th and 1, after an aggressive throw down the field, and I'm just buying time while we watch Dalton come so close to nailing that. Like, the placement's actually pretty good on Andy in this case. Like, I like the way you put that, Atheist. The dartboard says what the dartboard says. Like, he's been killing it in the read option, so of course we're going to take that away. Like, who cares? We're just going to have Demo by himself. We got to make sure we get Alex Bars in. We got to make sure we get Jesse James in. We got to make sure that Jimmy Graham. Everybody think about this for a hot second, okay? David Montgomery is a running back, and that's why we have to make sure that our backup offensive lineman and one of the worst tight end blockers in football is on the field, because maybe he'll run a route just for David Montgomery to throw the ball. Like, what is the purpose of this formation. What is the purpose? I don't really know. Censored, I think the answer would be finality. Like, that's it. It's not firing Nagy does anything other than stakes the claim that you are moving on. Like, it's not even a plus move necessarily. It's more that I think that right now there's such a rageful cloud hanging over Nagy's head that firing him now is just speeding up the inevitable. But that's my 2 cents. I mean, kind of like Kusai saying, I think that there could be just more psychological benefits than anything. You're out of the playoffs. Like, you're not mathematically eliminated, but you're 15th. The only reason that you're not 16th is because the Lions are 0-8-1, and hopefully they're 0-9-1. Like, I at least personally think that I find myself thinking firing Nagy helps the offense, or it helps the Bears, if only because the players know what's up. And so they don't have to keep reading tweets and whatnot. To pretend they don't is ridiculous, and they can move on just like everybody else can. That's my 2 cents anyways. Like, that's like, Luke, I wouldn't even say that nobody cares about Nagy. They're professionals. Like, we forget that they're the professional football players, and what Matt Nagy says and does and who he targets matters to everybody, you know? Like, that matters because it gets people paid. But my 2 cents is at least, like, no kidding, atheist. Like, it's, and Case, I think there's some truth to that too, about like accountability and whatnot. But I, at the very least, would, I think anyways, fire Nagy. If I was Pace, I would fire Nagy so that I could try to get a couple weeks in where you could say, whoa, it wasn't me, wasn't me and my guys, it was that guy. He was the problem. Who hired him? You know. But, and WY, I know it's probably is a little funnier than usual because we're just mad. But anyways, let's go back. We got to start talking about Fields a little bit again. So we started the show with a record low of 7 people. To everybody who was there, props. You guys are the real warriors. By the way, the fact that we have 129 people in the chat right now is incredible, because that means that there are 120, now 7, like, crazy people that are going to review the Bears all 22, sleep, and immediately wake up tomorrow and watch the Bears play the Lions. Like, I know I'm that crazy, but the fact that we got 127 of y'all in here with me, like, y'all are great. But so I wanted to call that out first. So for the people that weren't in here, I'm going to just go ahead and say it now, right? Fields did not have a great game. Fields was not supported particularly well by the offense around him, which I only have to say, not because I'm a Bears fan and not because I'm like, oh, yeah, there we go. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to, like, prop Fields up. Truth be told, I don't care about Fields' stats that much. It would be neat if they were higher, but his EPA plus CPOE is so medium compared to the whole league right now that I shrug my shoulders and go, who cares? Like, it sucks that the box score isn't better. You know, it sucks that a whole lot of bad luck has truly broken his way. It sucks that he is learning, and it looks like he's learning in many ways. But with that said, I mean, he's getting better, and he doesn't need to be better until 2022, maybe even 2023. So when I tell you that Fields did not play that great and he made more mistakes than I think he usually made, like, that, in my opinion, is all that I think counts. Like, he didn't have a great game. He still made 3 or 4 throws, I think it's 3 in particular that I'm thinking of, that were really, really strong within his 4 completions. Joel, to be specific, I wire in, I sneak in through the mainframe, I hack into the Game Pass mainframe through NordVPN into European Game Pass, and then record it there. It's better that way. I couldn't tell you why, but it is, you know? And KP, I can't make it make sense, but I can tell you that you're right to think it doesn't make sense. I hope that suffices. But so, WI, I don't know why we cut Brashad Perriman. I have no idea. But so, like, I would tell you, Nanisha, that I think, let's see, I think that there's a whole lot of like what went into playing Fields, that yes, upper management got involved, but in a shocking twist, I think George McCaskey was right to get involved. I think this experience has really helped Fields. I mean, what we saw in that Pittsburgh game, what we saw flashes of it in the San Francisco game, even what we saw in the first drive of this game, like there are bits and pieces of this field, like of Justin Fields' career, that are really starting to come together. Like the player that we saw in Cleveland just getting blasted and getting blasted and getting blasted and throwing a bad ball and throwing late and looking around like he had no idea what was going on. We're not seeing that player anymore. We're instead seeing, I think anyways, a player that had a bad game in the traditional sense, coming out of the bye, which for Nagy isn't even all that unusual. But I think that it's okay to say he played worse than you want him to, because, I mean, just to pick on somebody, right? What was it, 2 weeks ago? No, was it 1 week ago? Atheist, help me out, because you're the Packers fan here, right? Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson squared off on, I think it was Sunday Night Football, right? And they were both playing badly. Like, it might have even been Sunday afternoon, but both of those quarterbacks were not having their best game, you know? And that's that's going to happen in the NFL. There are going to be games where surefire Hall of Famer Russell Wilson has a terrible football game, and surefire Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers has a pretty bad football game too, and you end up winning, I think it's like 14-10 or something like that, because even on your bad days, all you can do is just be the best version of your bad self on that day, which I think is really key, right? That not every quarterback is going to put up 400 yards every single week. In Fields' case, he has yet to break 300. But I throw that out specifically because, like, yeah, 17-0. Exactly. You're right. But so I forgot about that. It was a shutout and it was awesome. But it's more to say that, like, you don't need to expect your quarterback to be perfect every game. And especially when you've got a rookie quarterback, that can be easy to forget, because we want to see him just be good and be good and be good and get better and get better and get better and get better. Now they're clearly going to the Hall of Fame. Cut it, dry it, mail it. We're done. Hall of Fame. I get it. We all want Justin Herbert. You know, like we all want that Joe Burrow sentiment of, wow, they're really starting to do a lot. But even Joe Burrow got absolutely pantsed by the Bears defense, and he's just fine. You know, like, I think Burrow is looking all right, even though he played terribly through 3 interceptions, and it was rough, you know? So I look at Fields' game, this game, and it sucks, don't get me wrong, that, it sucks that Fields didn't play as well as we want him to. And yet at the same time, at least what I am seeing is that Fields is getting better as a player. He's going through reads. He's identifying where he needs to go with the ball, and it's little mistakes. It's stuff that should be easy. It's saying, find your check down instead of trying to run all the time. It's saying, pull the ball to your chest and don't lose it when a defensive lineman slaps you on the hand. Like, it's all that kind of stuff that I know I look at and say, it's the teachable things that Fields needs to get better at, and it's not the natural things. Because to give an example, like, yes, censored, Burrow did throw 3 interceptions in a row. You know what I mean? But so, yeah, no, Colin, to answer your question, I think we have seen Danny Trevathan's last snap as a Bear. And then how injured his ribs are, I have no idea. Let me quickly get us our first drive, 350. So let's find this and we'll talk through what I'm talking about, because the real key is that, so for a long time, I thought people were just being fans, right? Like when they said, I think that the Bears offense is being held back by Matt Nagy and what's going on there. Like, really, I did. As I was still kind of young in my football analysis career, I thought to myself that was just a way to couch the fact that the Bears didn't have great players, you know? That saying, oh, Matt Nagy's the problem, was somehow going to fix Rashad Coward being in the starting lineup. And it felt like a talent issue until this season, where it really has felt like almost whatever the Bears do, they find a way to, I don't want to use that stupid old tired phrase, they find a way to not put their players in proper position to succeed. Like, let's rephrase it, or maybe reframe it a little bit. If the Bears do something right, they pretty much never touch it again. Like, whatever the Bears do. If it worked, they shelve it and they say, and there we go, that we spent that bullet. We're never going to get it again. One thing that drives me nuts that you don't see, but you saw it at OSU all the time. Can anybody in the chat tell me Fields' favorite throw in football, right? His favorite throw. Like, if there is a throw Fields is most comfortable making, it's not a curl route. Don't guess curl route. I don't want to see anybody guess curl route. But can you tell me Justin Fields' favorite throw based on what I've seen? Completion percentage, right? Like the rhythm, the way that he delivers the ball. What is it? Do you know? I'll give you guys a little bit of a second to shoot, right? It's not the go route. That's a good guess. Don't get me wrong. Deep ball, deep post on the sidelines, Colin. I mean, all these are good guesses, but weirdly enough, like all you guys are thinking big, right? You're thinking touchdown. Don't get me wrong. That's great. Thank you, Akusai. You nailed it. It's an out route. It's simple, right? It's this. Okay, I was about to draw with the lineman. Pretend he's standing still. Looks like that. Like just a basic out route. They call it Omaha, you know? Like where you send the guy up, he gets out, and Fields takes a drop back and just dots the ball to the sidelines, and then he steps out of bounds. Oklahoma, or like, what is it? It's Ohio State ran these once a drive. Like they ran these all the time. This is Fields' favorite throw from all the way back in college. They ran out routes a lot because Fields has this massive mega cannon arm that, if anything, struggles sometimes at shorter ranges because he throws the ball so hard. But Matt Nagy doesn't use him almost at all. Like, it's wild to me. Matt Nagy threw maybe 3 out routes with Fields in the game. Maybe. I think it might have been closer to 2. Like, instead, Matt Nagy wants to force a curl route. He wants to force a slant route. He wants to force, or I guess a slant would be more like that. He wants to force a double curls. He wants to force all this stuff that Fields doesn't like at this stage. Like, it's wild to me when you take a look at just what's going on that, it's just, bleh. You get the idea. I want to see the Bears tailor the offense to what we can tell Fields is good at. And honestly, in a case like this, I think, no kidding. I mean, Luke, you're right. With Mitch, we ran out routes all the time, which is wild because Mitch didn't like them as much. I mean, like, what's really weird to me, if you guys are sensing a theme, because kind of like Derek's saying, can't use the out route with Fields. That's what everybody's expecting. Like, Fields likes throwing outside of these dotted lines. It's not that Fields hates the middle of the field. It's that Fields has this ridiculous arm that I think he feels most comfortable one-on-one in the bubbled area. Mitch Trubisky, on the other hand, to draw the same dotted lines, preferred to stay in here. Like, that's what he wanted to do, you know? And so, or like, censored exactly. Like, with Mitch, they ran out routes and Mitch would miss them. With Fields, it's like we're running all these curls and Fields is struggling with them. And it's not to say that, that Fields can't get better at throwing over the middle. It is technically an easier throw. But, I mean, it's hilarious watching these guys play where it feels like for his young quarterbacks, Nagy keeps forcing a square peg into a round hole. And that square will change. Like, just when you think he's drafted a quarterback that will fit his square peg, he decides he wants a triangle peg instead. And so now he's going to jam the square, or like he's going to jam the triangle into a square hole. Because, I don't know. And it's wild. Like, as an analyst, it blows my mind because the way that I would always phrase this to anybody, it's not that I think I'm smart. It's that I think that if a 27-year-old in Dallas, Texas can watch the game and pick up on this stuff, that defenses can too. It's not that hard. Does that make sense? Like, I love being an analyst because I can make the assumption that anything I pick, shh, atheist, imagine a big triangle. But so I can at this stage make the assumption that we can go through and I can tell you whatever I see and we can all learn about the game together because the defense should know. If I can pick it out, they sure can too. If there's anybody out there, yes, Joel, I am, that watches, Like, yeah, no, Derek, that's the truth. Like, if there's one thing about Andy Dalton being on the Bears, it's that on accident, Nagy actually calls to Dalton's strengths most of the time. And he's like the one. He's the godchild, if you would. But so anyways, let's get to this drive because we've got we're at 10:30 and I've promised myself that we're done at 12:30 because we got a game tomorrow morning. But so anyways, the Bears run a basic zone read and I actually really love it. Like it's the ideology behind this, right? Because you're going to see them pull Cole Kmet over here. Have we talked about what a scrape exchange is? I think we have. But if you've never heard it before, one of the very common ways in college to defend a running quarterback is to have this edge defender crash down 100% of the time. It's part of your defensive design that he crashes and this linebacker is going to come over the top, right? And so what you call this is a scrape exchange. This linebacker is scraping and he is exchanging responsibilities with this like edge defender so that when you theoretically pull the ball with Fields, the linebacker has it under control, and when you pass the ball off to the running back, the edge defender gets him. Theoretically, that's how you do it. But so anyways, Colin, I watched the games through Sunday Ticket. Only way. But so what the Bears do that I think is really cool is that let me see here. Sean, that hurts to read. They pull Cole Kmet over to stop the scraper, right? You're going to see them on this play. It's really simple. It's really easy. They get Mooney out in front. They get Cole Kmet with him so that you've got two blockers to take on however many guys that you need. Kmet and Mooney both stop the scrape right here. And Fields has a nice, easy running lane. Easy way without a throw to use Fields, kind of get him breathing a little bit. 8-yard gain. I always love any play, whether it's a screen, whether it's a quick out, whether it's a bubble, right? A nice, easy way to make the quarterback feel productive, try to get him in rhythm. This is a play call that just about no matter who, like Ty Kitchens, thanks so much for jumping in, just about no matter who comes in to ultimately take over for Matt Nagy, that's the kind of play that I think that they could just keep going, right? Like keep using that one. That's easy enough. And it applies to almost any scenario, right? But so, yeah, when they do it with Fields, not out of the Wildcat, exactly. But so from there, immediately, we talked about the out route for a reason. They run it one time, it works. They run a natural pick, and Fields dots the receiver. In this case, it's Jakeem Grant. It's easy. Like, they get into a natural bunch, which, by the way, I'm surprised that the Bears don't use bunches more with Fields. It's a great way to generate releases, right? But so they're going to have Mooney run a go, which sets a natural pick for Jakeem Grant right here on a basic out route. Fields just takes the snap, takes a step back, fires the ball, puts it right where it's supposed to be, quick, easy, 6 yards. And then that play goes on ice and they never use it again. I mean, like, this is the part about the Nagy offense that starts to just drive me crazy, is that here you've got you've got a throw that Fields can make look quite easy. Certainly makes him feel good. You could tell it makes him feel comfortable throwing this. You've got a receiver that clearly ran the play well, but you're just never going to do it again. Why would you? Like, your quarterback likes it. Can't do that. And so from there, they run the ball. I actually love the fact. So this is like the one play where they do this, and I love it. Do you realize, Bears fans and not, that's backup running back Khalil Herbert right here in the H-back spot, right? So they've got Herbert on a potential triple option where Herbert's going to come across, Montgomery's going to go the standard running lane, and Fields might either roll out or play action pass from here. I love this formation. Of course, they put it on ice immediately. That's neither here nor there. But the idea of you put him on the field, you make everybody see, that's Khalil Herbert, means that when you take the snap and you pull Khalil across the formation like that, in theory, you could bend the ball back, hand it to him, and the defense has to pay attention. Watch these four right here. They stick on this side of the field as Montgomery blasts through over there. Like 56, this guy's already facing in this direction. 50's waiting on it, and this outside corner are all hesitating because Khalil Herbert is in that area with Darnell Mooney moving. So there's a lot of motion going towards their side, which freezes the defenders just enough for Sam Mustipher, you heard it first, Sam Mustipher, to make a really key block that springs David Montgomery for 9 yards. I mean that. Like, I thought it was wild too. But you know what? I can't dog on a player and not praise them when they do really well. Mustipher makes a really nice block in this running play. Like, moves the guy nicely. Whitehair and Peters get up and seal. All that motion keeps them way over here. Bears are looking like they're rolling at this stage. You know? They get to 2nd and 1, and you better believe you know what's coming. Like, you've got Mooney coming across. You've got Fields on a play action rollout. Oh, this is nice. So quick, sprint out. You've got Cole Kmet on the easy completion, but he decides, why would I do an easy completion when I could get the whole apple, and just bombs it downfield, and the corner kind of misplays it. But the throw is pretty much perfect as he gets it down. I mean, gosh, like, take a look at the wide angle here, right? This is something you can get excited about. 4 plays, 4 really, really good ones. Like, they're getting cooked. Bang. Look at that. That is perfect. I love watching this play because, I mean, it feels the best play of the game. But it's also wild just watching how well this one works for them as Fields takes that, Fields takes that wheel, says, I'll take my chances, and puts the ball, credit to him, in a spot where only Mooney can get it. Like, that is a throw that, assuming the corner hadn't hesitated and ended up so far off, Mooney still has every shot at this. Like, and that hurts. And that's all the offense we need. We're done. We're done here. But so, I mean, let me see. What is this? What did somebody say? Luke, oh man, I thought this might be like a huge one for him too. Like this drive. But so, yeah, I mean, the Bears generate just about everything that they want. They get suddenly down to the 35 on like 3 plays. You know what I mean? The UDFA, more like blowout city, like as they're getting ready for it. I like the play design enough. It's nothing crazy. They've run it a billion times. They do it with Mitch all the time, where you get Bird headed out this way, Mooney up that wheel route, Kmet right there, where Fields can basically pick and choose between who he wants to victimize. This holds the safety just enough that he lofts a beautiful throw. I mean, like, when you talk about Fields playing poorly in a game where he had to throw like this, you feel like you could figure it out. Like, you feel like you could work with it a little bit. Somebody out there could take the kid that can throw this ball and do better. Like, I don't think that's a crazy ask, you know? This is the sort of thing that I know I look at and say, there are plenty of points where I think Fields is raw. There are plenty of spots. I mean, Fields has 31 sacks on the season, right? Where he's struggled. His rookie statistics are not phenomenal, especially when you go common box score statistics. They are not good. But then you look at some of these throws like this, where he identifies what he wants, he takes a hit as he gets the ball out, and the throw placement is just absolutely gorgeous, that I don't want to slobber over it more than I need to. It's more that these kinds of throws are special. You're allowed to say it if you're a Bears fan. It takes guts, it takes talent to hit these kinds of things without missing on many of them. Like, really, it's not as if Fields is attempting so many of these that he finally hits one here and there. But I agree with you, Atheist, at this point. Like, his level 2 would be hitting his checkdowns and looking guys off. Right now, he looks at one guy and he expects them to adjust the way he wants them to. But so I want to take a look at now this play. This play is, let me see. Oh no, it's not this one. So we got a little bit longer. But so censored the general gist of why Dalton got 2 bombs for TDs. If you're thinking what is this? What are we coughing about? Oh, the gist is that the Ravens played Dalton cover 0 and they played Fields cover 1, cover 2. So they just stuck safeties back there. Yeah, we got more Wildcat action. Hooray, hooray. Like, it's not as if Dalton played bad. I don't want to go that far, but Dalton didn't play well. He just took what was offered, and what was offered was deep stuff. Like, really. And he missed a bunch of stuff. Like, it's not as if I'm sitting here trying to just eat Dalton alive. It's more that I had the same question and then came to find out the Ravens just left that stuff open. Also, by the way, I love this play. So the Wildcat, bad. You know, we got to talk about this. This play is awesome. I want everybody to notice what this is. So you're going to see the whole offensive line block for an absolutely standard, like, outside zone run. You know what I mean? But so you're going to also see, I think it's Jakeem Grant, come on what's called an orbit motion and take a pitch. This is an awesome play design because all four of these guys basically feint outside zone, which is going to get, you're going to see it, this whole side of the defense flowing this way. And Peters, Kmet, I think it's Damiere Byrd, and Khalil Herbert go out and win a 4-on-4. It's awesome. Like, this is exactly the kind of surprising, sublime counter action that you're looking for when you want to put together a surprising running game. Because at this stage, all of these like defenders are playing the run on this side. Like, everybody is coming in and attacking a run that will never be there because Fields flips around, pitches it, and suddenly you've got Damiere Byrd's already smoked two guys at this point. Like, Cole Kmet is blocking him. Peters and Herbert are both coming in space with a runner that's going to pick up an easy first down. Like, this is actually good. Herbert lays a thick block on his guy. Like, I remember at one point David Montgomery had a similar opportunity and didn't do the same thing. Like, this is a sweet, sweet play, top to bottom. And it's the kind of thing that makes you feel like the Bears had finally found something. Like, truly. I love this play because they've been running so much outside zone that you end up with four guys going this way. 99 thinks he's about to penetrate, make a huge play. 1, 2, 3 defenders are just taken totally out of it as you end up with a pure 4-on-4. Like, Bird wins, Kmet wins, or Herbert and Peters end up in space with Jakeem Grant, your punt returner, who makes a nice little play in open space, nothing crazy special, and the Bears pick up a very easy looking 10 yards. Here they are on the 20, and then the game ended. Bears win. You know, like, that's it. Game over. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Shut the stream down. You turn it off. I said turn it off. It didn't end there. I wish it did. But like I wish that was the end of the game. But at this stage, this is where the wheels start to fall off. Like, you end up with this play, which is the beginning of the end. And I can't believe I have to diagram it, but I do. Because what you're about to see is that the Bears call on the 21-yard line, right? The Akusites not toss crack is worse. I mean, I think it's worse. Where you're going to see Goodwin run a curl. Damiere Byrd runs a curl. Pass protect, 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 and to go route, and just watch Fields because his read is 1, 2, and you tell me what's open. Like, you go ahead and just watch Damiere Byrd and Marquise Goodwin with all of this open space run these routes. You tell me what he's supposed to do, right? Like, he's going to get there. He's one-on-one in press coverage with so much room for activities, right? And instead, we get this. Watch the receivers one at a time if you want. Like, truly. I mean, it's what, like, I'll rewind it a couple times for you. Truly, like, watch Damiere Byrd first. This route made me sad. Watching it again, like, I was like, what is? Oh my gosh. And then I went out and I tried to make myself feel better. I said, okay, hang on. What's Marquise Goodwin doing? And so I took a look out here, and it's not any better. They don't do anything. Like, it's one of those where, like, the route is just, it's just bad. I mean, both of their route, like, Bird's is worse. Goodwin's is at least modest. But I think the worst part is, so then now let's talk from a play perspective. What are you trying to do when you design a play, right? Well, generally speaking, you want to give the quarterback a progression. Now, think about it physically, right? Let me see, do I have it? I do. Put it on your bingo cards, the football made an appearance. But so envision that you are reading a play, okay? Pretend to be a quarterback for a second. You take the snap. Your eyes have to go to your first read, but you make your first read, and then you look at your second read afterwards, right? So how do you structure a play? If you are building a play correctly, the routes don't resolve at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. Like what what is it? Envidice. Don't think of it even as slant versus this or that or so on and so forth. Think about it very simplistically as you don't run two routes where they resolve at the same time, because then you can't run a 1-2 read. If they are both the one read, then you don't get to look at anything else. So it shocks me at this point that we don't see Bird. Bird can run a curl route. I wouldn't like it, but he can. You know what I mean? Whereas we've got Goodwin potentially running a double move. Go for it. Why wouldn't you, right? At least it gives Fields somewhere to go with the ball if that first one isn't there. And so, like, I find myself, hang on, so let me see. No, I hear you, Medusa Man. I'm not trying to kill Dalton for it. Dalton's a predetermined reader, but we could talk about that another time because, I mean, the San Fran offense is a lot of fun. I like it anyways, no matter Kyle Shanahan's feelings as a coach. Anyways, let's get back on topic. Play design wise, this drove me nuts. Not because just the reads are bad, but look at this space. For crying out loud, run a double move and run an out route. We talked about the out routes before, right? You've got a man in press coverage, and as soon as he gets going, check this out, surprise, surprise, he's sitting in neutral leverage. Get going this way and run an out route. It's going to be wide open, and even better, Fields can get to it whenever he feels like it because you're running to the sidelines. You know what I mean? And then with Goodwin, run a double. Why not? Like, what stops you? Akusai, whether Fields can audible or not is a great question. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much, control Fields has at the line of scrimmage at this point because he's a rookie. A lot of times that's the sort of thing that comes latest is control at the line of scrimmage and such in-depth knowledge of the playbook that you go, we're running something else. But it's more to say that, like, Fields comes in, I don't see him make any check at the very least. This is the original play design. Who calls this? Like, I get it. It's 1st and 10. Robert, you're focusing too much on one play, especially when we've talked about 8 bangers in a row. Well, 7 bangers and the Montgomery Wildcat. Neither here nor there. Like, I get it. Why are we focusing on this? It's because I don't understand what they thought they were going to get out of this. I feel like the Bears wasted a golden opportunity to utilize the fact that the Ravens are almost brazenly sitting in a one high safety setup that allows you to run a slot fade. It'll, like, you want to run a curl route over here? Sure, run smash on top of it. It's wide open. You know, you run anything, run like slot fade, run a double move and go, run a post. There's so many more options than simply curl, you know, they're like, that's what I'm saying, John. What coverage would this play work against? It would work against soft zone. Maybe, you know what I mean? And so, like, if you didn't get this guy in press coverage, I might be okay with a curl, especially if you got, like, both of these corners sitting here and here. A curl makes a lot of sense there. You threaten the deep part, you turn back for it. But at this point, like, what are you looking for? And so, it's... maybe he can. Like, audible, I hear all y'all on the audible thing. Definitely something that Fields can learn from either way. But, like, this is the primary play call. And I'm with you guys that Fields should check out of it. But checking out of a bad play on a design perspective is, I think, a lot to ask of a rookie, because that's akin to having your rookie quarterback say, I know more about offense than you. Exactly, Atheist. Like, you shouldn't have to audible out of a stupid play call, right? You shouldn't have to do that. Even worse to me is the fact that they're running 7-man protection, which implies that they expect something to resolve. It doesn't. Like, they expect this to take a while, you know? What do they think they're running? Is it an option route? Does Bird just get hosed? Like, I don't know. It's awful. It's really putrid. Like, those of you that have followed the channel, I don't think you've heard me be this upset about, like, a design. But this is so bad. You just got to the red zone. You have an opportunity to establish not only a lead, but a feel for the rest of the game, and you throw it away on 1st and 10. This blows my mind that you would call a double resolution right here for a rookie quarterback that can make throws at any level of the field, and he's shown you that. To me, it's belligerent. It's ignorant. It's negligent. It's so many bad things. Like, it's just a complete misuse and misunderstanding of football. Like, this is just awful. But so Fields then seems like he completely loses composure. Well, it's not like he loses composure. He just flicks the ball out, which I guess technically is the best result. Yeah. Akusai, we only had 2 weeks to prepare. Like, come on, what are we doing here? But so, even wilder is, I think it was Atheist that just mentioned it, like, if you had Montgomery in the flat, then at least you test this guy. If you had him do... I don't know why they're both running the same route. I keep coming back to that. Why are they both running the same route? This is such a disgusting play call. I am fuming just at the idea. Like, Derek, that's one way to look at it. It's so awful. They'll never see it coming. It's so crazy. It just might work. That's why we're running toss crack on 3rd and 6, let me tell you. But so, yeah. So then they come back, and, oh man, this made me mad too. So here we go, right? Like, we're looking at 2nd and 10. We're at the 21-yard line. We're so close, you know? Mike, we have to. We're going to. But so 2nd and 10. 2nd and 10. 10 yards, right? Analytically speaking, you're trying to get 8 yards on this play. From a red zone perspective, you know that things are tightened up, you know? Let's count the box, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-man box, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Bears blockers. So what do you think we're doing? It's a draw. They call a draw on 2nd and 10 against an 8-man box. And would you believe it? Like, it doesn't work. Shocker. Like, let's take a second to assume for a moment that we're going to get somebody out of the way, right? Let's assume that we've got Damiere Byrd will be our 7th blocker, you know? And so let's try to take a look and, you know, Mike G, we got to. Like, come back to it later if you want to. But, like, here's the worst part about this play. When you talk about play design, why does play calling matter? You know what I mean? Yes, Sean, this is live. Like, in what sense? But so, like, is the game live? Game's not live. But so, like, remember, let's pretend all the blocking works, right? So Bird's going to take him out. He's going to take him out. What is that? Borum's going to get up there. You got him getting up there. Mustfer will get there. Whitehair will take the guy in front of him. And every tackle always takes the guy right out to his left. You know what I mean? So at this point, let's see. So at this point, let's pretend that we've got everybody perfectly blocked up. Who would make the play, right? It'd be this guy, the extra man in the box, the guy that you don't have accounted for, you know? And so what drives me nuts is, remember this guy we just circled. If everybody gets blocked perfectly, this guy makes the play. Who makes the play? It's him. Well, it's not, it might not be him exactly, now that I think about it. But it's one of these two right here on this side that ends up unblocked, ends up cutting down, and ends up making the play. And only because David Montgomery is just this unconscionable human being. Like this unbelievable person who can take getting hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage by 2 people and turn it into a 5-yard gain. Is this a gain at all? It should have lost 2 yards, you know? Like, it shouldn't have been a gain at all. It's incredible at this point why that, like, the Bears gain any yards, in my opinion. But they end up with, would you believe it, somebody completely unblocked on a draw, and Montgomery dives forward, gets yards that he shouldn't, steals them basically, sets up 3rd and long. So you got a terrible play call, on 1st and 10. You got a terrible play call, I think anyways, on 2nd and 10. Like 2nd and 10, not only do you not run a run, but you run a draw. And like Nanisha, to say that Nagy expects him to audible, I don't know what he's looking for. Most of the time, just so that everybody's aware, because it's not quite the same as Madden, you know? It's not like you pick one play and you come to the line of scrimmage. Overwhelming majority of the time, from what I understand anyways, Nagy's process is to give you it's to give you 2 plays. So you have your first play, and if you get a certain look that you're looking for, you kill it, and you get to your second play. Now, do we know that Fields botched the look on any of these? I don't know that. I mean, certainly on the first one, if they had a pass play and a run play, then I would have taken the pass play and hoped that Damiere Byrd would have made use of the space. He did not. With that second one, could Fields have checked out of it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not in the coaching room. For me to pretend that I know would be the problem. Does that make sense? I can only grade what's in front of me. And that draw on 2nd and 10. I hate runs on 2nd and 10 enough, but running into an 8-man box with that kind of space drives me up the wall. Like, to me, that is, again, you've got a rookie quarterback. You're trying to do everything you can to make him successful in spite of himself, basically. And you did not do that, like, in that case. But so, in theory, it's Lazer's call. But Nagy gets input, and we know that. And Kevin, I'm sure I want to pick apart the Ravens. Actually, there was a lot of things, just so you know, that we will talk about. Like, I want to talk about the defense for once. That we can talk about the Ravens. I think there were some things that they did really well. The Ravens picked out where they needed to attack and just kept going back to the Kindle-Vildor well. Like, Mark Andrews looked dominant. Mark Andrews looked like the most dominant tight end that the Bears have faced, and they have faced Darren Waller. They have faced, they didn't face George Kittle. They were going to. They've faced some good tight ends. Like, it's not like they've faced all of the creme de la creme, but Mark Andrews looked unbeatable. Mark Andrews looked like the Bears didn't have an answer to him. And there was only two players that I would tell you guys that I thought were like phenomenal on the Bears defense, and they were Robert Quinn and they were Roquan Smith. This might have been Roquan Smith's best football game I've ever seen him play. Like, it's wild to think that. Akusai, they do have Hawkinson. You're right. He's a pretty good tight end too. But so, I've been wanting Roquan to be that guy in the Bears defense, or at least look like that guy. This game, tell you what, like, as the Bears held the Ravens to 9 points, Roquan was everywhere. Like, I don't normally like to say, oh, Akusai, Jalen Johnson's good. Don't get me wrong. But Jalen had a good day on a day where Roquan Smith had 17 tackles. And I don't normally care about tackling stats. 17 is crazy. It's outrageous. The amount of tackles Roquan made is just indicative of how he was everywhere and so on and so forth. And then Quinn had 3.5 sacks. Which is so ridiculous. It bears mentioning in general. But so let's see, like, break down positions and players. WY, I do not want to answer that question because that could be a sad answer. But so, anyways, getting back to it, 3rd and 5. We have to talk about this. Yeah, Roquan Smith didn't look blockable at all. But so, like, 3rd and 5. Oh gosh, we have to talk about this. Bears are going to run toss crack. I think it's Montgomery screws it up. It's either Montgomery or it's good old Larry Borum. Like, it's legitimately hard to tell because the gist of what the Bears are going to run is they are going to run a play. If you've never seen me diagram toss crack, it's surprisingly simple. All they do is that they're going to have everybody bend this way. The idea of toss crack is that you have this wide receiver hit him going this way. You have this tight end get on this side. You have this guy, or like the tackle right here. They create a wall. The whole goal is to open up this running file right here and jam your running back through it and try to go get some yardage, right? Montgomery is an addicted inside runner. He is an inside run junkie. All he wants to do is run the ball up the middle. I don't know why. Like, this is such a better... It's not a good Bears play. They never run it well. But it's even worse to me that they don't use Khalil Herbert, because Montgomery has traditionally struggled with this. Like, you could put this in Montgomery's scouting report, that he'll steal you yards even on that draw. But this play right here, like, for once, the Bears nail it. They nail it. Borum kind of doesn't get there. Like, Daniels nails it. You've got your wall, theoretically. But Montgomery takes it and doesn't run outside. he stays inside for some reason. Like, he stops, he gets overtaken, and the Bears lose 4 yards. I don't know why. And so, like, I watched this play, and truly, did Montgomery have the ability to get outside? Well, it's hard to know, you know? Like, this defender is coming on, or he's streaking through Borum's shoulder. The other angle shows that a little better, Atheist, but Montgomery doesn't take the outside edge on an outside run. Like, what in the world? This blows my mind. So here it is. Did Montgomery see that Borum had his, like, shoulders turned and tried to jam it up? Maybe. But also, Montgomery hates running outside the tackles, and he didn't hear. Like, this is so classic Bears. This is who the Bears are. This is who the Bears have been, right? Like, they have just this magnetic pull towards just massively screwing something up. Whether you want to call that putting players in position to succeed, sometimes I think we can be a little too kind. Like, a running back should know at this point that when you catch the ball on toss crack, you're doing everything you can to get through the line I just drew. On the outside and then up. Montgomery doesn't do that. To say that this is somehow putting Montgomery in a bad position to succeed, I kind of just represented that. Like, yes, he's an inside run junkie, but I'm mostly making fun of him. Like, unfortunately, I love David Montgomery. There's so many things he does well, but for crying out loud, get up the field, you know? And so, like, go where the play is intended to go. It's wild to me. Maybe Sean Montgomery does think that he doesn't have the speed to get to the edge fast enough, but this is 100% like not the way to do it, because he's gotta. Like, if Montgomery doesn't think he's got the speed, you got to give this ball to a back that does, or a wide receiver, for crying out loud, because that's the whole crux of the play. Like, 20's got his back turned. Everybody else is sealed off really beautifully. I don't think it goes for a touchdown. I don't even know that it gets a first down. But at the very least, you are killing the play when you dip this back inside. And Medusa, man, to talk about, like, the check down thing, there's really only one scenario where I want Fields to hit his check down, just to be clear, because most of the time they don't even give him one. Like, I think that that's part of the part of the problem is that they don't let Fields have a check down. They leave the running back in to block. And so there's a whole bunch of this sort of thing that I think it's a very complex issue. I don't think all of it is on Fields, and I don't want it to sound like I'm just roasting this poor rookie. I more just want to try to put it in context, because at this point, if you look up Justin Fields' statistics, depending on the statistic, like, he's either really bad or he's surprisingly good for a rookie. Like, his yards per attempt, his yards per attempt are actually pretty good. Like, all things told, his adjusted yards per attempt, don't look them up. It's really bad, you know? But anyways, young Quack, I gotta tell you, man, like, nobody here hates the Lions. Not really. Like, you can have the Detroit versus everybody mindset, but we're just trying to analyze football. Like, I hope we have a good game tomorrow. If anything, I think that this could be Jared Goff's triumphant return. I'm a little more nervous about it than I want to admit, because the Bears' defensive backs are in a real problem set. I mean, the Bears, like, if you follow this channel at all, I make fun of the Bears' nickelback Duke Shelley a lot, and he's out. So his backup is going to be playing. Like, the Lions have an opportunity here in Motown to make some, to make some real noise on Thanksgiving, especially with Justin Fields out, because Justin Fields went crazy on Detroit last time, which I get it, only 201 yards, but 201 yards off of like 17 attempts, if memory served, with like 4 of them being over 40 yards. I have a feeling if I was you, I wouldn't want to be playing Fields again. So you get Andy Dalton. Like, you don't need to be so combative, is all I'm trying to say. We're all in this. Oh man, atheist, if you hate the Vikings, I can't imagine this last game was any fun. Like Packers Vikings, it's a fun football game from a neutral fan perspective, but man, like that must have been a rough loss to see. And hopefully Aaron can stay healthy throughout the rest of the season, but that's neither here nor there. Getting back to it, there's only so much offense that we've really got to cover at this point. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that I find myself looking through. Let's see. Oh, let's talk through it. So we talked a little bit about Fields' Y-cross thing. Within the realm of talking about Fields, I think we can talk through it again. Like this play right here, Bears are running Y-cross. It looks like that, basically. You got a post route that clears out for, I don't want to call it a lazy route. It's more that this thing can go a lot of different places, depending on where the receiver wants to take it and depending on where the defender is. So Fields sees that if Mooney carries the route pretty much right there, like if he just keeps running where he's going, they're looking at a touchdown. And so if he throws it to where it's supposed to go, then he's going to throw a pick. And so as we saw, he just lofts the ball to where he wants to put it, basically. He hopes that Mooney makes an adjustment and just puts it in a spot where obviously when you watch it, you're like, holy crap, he missed him by a ton. Then you watch the tight angle. What is it? The end zone angle. You'll probably see it at least more the way that I know I am, where Fields makes a nice little adjustment. Like he takes a look at this defender. He sees that it's going to be a problem. He sights up Mooney. He says, I trust my receiver to have made an adjustment to take the route from what would be there and instead take it there, and just buzzes the ball over his shoulder, where had he instead of broken out this way, but instead broken out that way, you might actually be looking at a touchdown. Instead, you're not. And Fields needs to wear that. Like, learning moment for sure on how to adjust to your wide receiver. I don't want to sound like I'm fluffing him too much. Fields makes other mistakes later in the game. I didn't think this was one of them. If anything, I liked the quickness with which Fields just looking at it and saying, let's throw the touchdown pass. Because I know we make fun of Orlovsky here. Sorry, Dan. All the time on drawing things out as, that's a touchdown! But, like, if Mooney does catch this ball running up, both safeties are over here, he's gone 60 yards or whatever it is. Might be 80 yards. Akusa, I'm with you. He could probably rainbow this if he had the guts to do it. I'm not 100% sure that would have fixed anything, because most of the time when you rainbow it, you're still rainbowing it for the receiver to be there. But if anything, I think Justin Fields is going to take away from this year. The number one thing he needs to know is that his fastball is too fast and the overwhelming majority of his throws are too hard. Like, I know that that's hilarious. Like, grown professionals should be able to catch a college kid's fastball. But like you're saying, the NFL has a lot more touch and adjustment than I think meets the eye. And when somebody like Fields comes in and he's just throwing bullets basically as often as he can, it's a nice reminder that, hey, sometimes your receiver's not going to be on the same page as you. And if you loft that ball like there, like on a big old arc or something like that, no, it's probably not going to score a touchdown, but you may actually get your receiver to break out this way, go, oh, shoot, get right back under it, and make like a falling catch at the 40 or something like that, maybe closer to like the 30. But 50 yards is 50 yards. I get what you're saying. If anything, I did want to just have the conversation about this play where I like Fields' adjustment. I like the idea that he saw, because to be clear about why I like the adjustment, if he throws it to where Mooney's looking for the ball, it's a pick. Like, if he throws it to there, the defender's waiting for it, and he will throw an interception. So the adjustment needs to be there. It's not even just about the space. It's about how 36 was in the throwing lane. You can't throw that. So he clearly read the field and made a one-man adjustment. I like that part. Now, you only get 0 credit at this point. Like, you get no credit for an incompletion. As a rookie, maybe you get the littlest of partial credit. But in the interest of being fair, Bears fans and other fans, I think we can all agree that we don't need to act like Fields throwing incompletions is a reason to celebrate. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to, like, you eventually want your quarterback to be getting completions out of these kinds of things. But I'll chalk it up to a chemistry issue, to a rookie, to him not getting any of the first team reps. I'll continue to chalk it all up to that until his second season. This was a play that I actually liked. Then on this one, we're kind of back to the offensive design thing, because what you're about to see is that the Bears run a curl route, and like curls, of course it is. But I'm not 100% sure why it is that Goodwin curls the way that he does. So whether this throw is inaccurate or not, Fields has to wear it like it is. It's like one of those interceptions, right? Where the receiver tips the ball and it pops into somebody else's hands. Like, no matter what the result is, the quarterback has to own it. So I'm not afraid of pinning incompletions on Fields, but I am curious as to why Goodwin runs like he does on this one. Like, in this setting, Sean, that makes total sense, by the way. I actually didn't know that. But so, or what is it? Goodwin gets an outside release right here. Thanks so much, KP. Really kind of you to say. He gets an outside release with the corner staring this way, which makes me think there is no way, in my eyes anyways, that with the corner on an outside release and you're running a curl route, that there's not an adjustment tag to put the ball on your outside shoulder. Like, at least I'm trying to think like a coach, right? When you get a free outside release and you're running a curl route, it's a free completion if you just turn around. And the quarterback can see that. Like, the two of you can make those adjustments at the same time. And so when Fields throws this ball and it ends up on his outside shoulder, that's not weird to me. Like, you make the call, chat. Do you think that makes sense? Like, he ends up throwing to a guy that I think is open enough, but Goodwin curls back on the inside, and that's really strange. I mean, why would you do that? You were curling into being taken away. You know what I mean? Maybe he thought he wasn't getting the ball or something. Maybe. It's hard for me to know. But Fields throws this ball to where, like, so he's standing right here, curling inside, and then the ball hits him in the hand right here, where if he had turned his shoulders and looked for it, the ball would have been right there. Now, is that the way they teach this? I do not know. I'm not a Bears coach, no matter how much I would like to be. And so I can only take guesses. What I will tell you is that Fields is so kind of bizarrely accurate sometimes that a lot of quarterbacks like Andy Dalton, I can go, he just missed him. Like, and that's fine. With Fields, I am left legitimately wondering, did he intend to put it there? Because that makes a lot of sense to me, that you would take an inside leverage curl route and convert it to an outside turn, but he doesn't do that. He ends up totally spaced, like from his hands perspective, and I am left wondering what happened, because I don't mind the throw. Like Atheist is kind of talking about, so this is what it looks like on the tight angle, which is always helpful. The middle of field guys coming open, but I've said this on the channel a whole bunch. When your number one read is open, the number two read doesn't matter. It could be wide open, kind of like that Dalton Kmet play on 3rd and 1 that we talked about. Like, number two could be more open, but you don't skip one when it is open, and because it's your first read for a reason. And so with one being, open-ish, like, again, if he turns the other way, the ball hits him in the hands. Like, if he even backs up a little, like, if he curls around and let's get to this view. I don't know why he would do this, but like, if he curled to the inside right there and then just got some distance, the ball hits him in the hands. Does he miss? I don't know. Like, he's going to have to wear it like it is. But this was a play that I know I saw, and I do think Fields starts to make more mistakes as the game goes on. But I looked at this one and I was like, ooh, that one's weird. But so, anyways, the trouble with being a rookie, in my opinion, is that you're going to make mistakes. And so, like, what you have to do, in my opinion, is that for every one mistake that you make, you got to make a play on the second play. Like, you get 3 downs, right? So if on first, let's go first, second, third. If on first down you make a play, great. But if on first down you screw something up and you run the ball on second down, then on third down, you got to make a play. That's what it means, in my opinion, to be a rookie. When you miss one, you got to make one. And so whatever happened, Fields has to own the results that in this specific game, when he and Mooney on that Y cross did not sync up, he's got to make a play to get the Bears back on track. He didn't hear, and he's got to own that. You know what I mean? So they move on. Let me see here. Couple other mistakes. Some are mistakes, some aren't mistakes. Like one thing I thought was actually surprisingly neat little design, which doesn't really matter because now we're talking about a dead man's offense, for lack of a better way to put it. There is no way to be truly nice about it. The Bears did a really nice job running outside zone with a wham block. So they would have Borum, Daniels, Mustipher, Peters go one way, and then Kmet would come across and cut out the other side with the express purpose of forcing holes open over the middle on outside zone. This is for David Montgomery. Like, bang, there's the wham, there's your hole. Like, these are nice little ways to jimmy loose holes that David likes running. And so, actually, credit at this point, like to, let's see. Oh, it wasn't Patterson and Atheist. He's not on the team anymore. That was Marquise Goodwin. But either way, truly, it's been hard to tell who is and who isn't in the correct position throughout the majority of these Bears games because it feels like they change their playbook too often. But so anyways, next play, they run another running play. They just do the same thing again. So you'll see it a second time. Everybody goes outside zone this way. Kmet makes a nice little wham block. Bang, 99 gets hit. Montgomery comes straight through. Like, hurrah. Like, it is power football, Kevin. It's funny because it's technically zone. But it's black and blue football if we're on the same place. But so then we're going to see a really nice little play action pass, simple little concept. You're going to see Darnell Mooney run this route. I never know what that's called because it's not technically in the route tree. It's just like a straight go that's kind of slanted. While Marquise Goodwin takes advantage of what clearly looks like cover 3. If you take a look at this shell on a play action pass, and Fields is going to hang in there and make a nice little throw. Like, here it is. He's going to fake the handoff, drops back in the pocket. He's got a free runner coming at him, but he also knows he's about to get Goodwin coming up open over the middle. So if he can just hang in there and make the throw, he can put it right on him for a nice little gain of, man, that's actually quite a few yards. 10, 20, 25-yard throw. What's really wild to me about watching Justin Fields after having watched Mitch Trubisky for four long years is Fields makes throws that I feel like Mitch would have really struggled with, or we would have been like, holy moly, that's a long throw. And he just flicks the ball out there and hits a guy right in the hands. And yeah, I mean, exactly, and breaks Fields' ribs. Yeah, I mean, he gets thumped on this one. I've been wondering whether this was part of where Fields' rib injury started, if I could just go there, because he gets lit up pretty good. Now, he doesn't look like he struggles getting up afterwards. Maybe it was the kick that really inflamed things. But either way, Fields makes a nice 25-yard throw. In theory, you are hoping, just to call a spade, that Cole Kmet's able to block this guy just a little better. Like, or somebody else. Maybe it's Jimmy Graham just rolls over and picks the guy up because he didn't do that. That's for sure. Maybe he was supposed to. But so it almost looks like Kmet thinks that he has to maintain the inside leverage as the guy works outside right there, and Jimmy coming over to help does nothing for him and ends up with Fields taking yet another hit. But from the throwing perspective, you like the read. It's an easy read. Like, truly, it is. It's a cover 3 beater that you knew was going to be wide open. The throw's good, maybe a smidge high, but certainly open enough space, and it doesn't have too much gas on it. This is something that I think Fields has had to work through a little bit, but it's a very nice, it's a nice tempoed throw where Goodwin can catch it even at full extension. Looking at it again, maybe you want to bring that ball just a little bit down if we're being really nitpicky, but he makes the play all the same. The speed is nice and catchable. Clearly that's something that Goodwin felt comfortable pulling down, and then they move on. Mustipher makes a good little run block here. I've come after Mustipher too many times to not point this out. Like, dang, Sam is kind of showing out, gonna be honest. Watch 67 again. He has had a rough rough season, but there he hits a nice double block and moves the ball forward. And this might be the play that defines Fields' game in terms of what he has to just be prepared for. I'm going to warn you, it's another bad design. It's a curl, and you've got 5 men receivers that I don't remember what they're doing. Like, truly, I don't know. But these are the first 2 reads, just over, what is it? Like, right over the middle. And Fields takes the snap, takes a look, and sees, oh, that's covered, and that's also covered. So, bad start, right? Jason Peters is getting beat to the inside. So Fields, because he doesn't have a check down, tell me why. Like, the check down comment isn't about this one, right? Because here, he takes his normal check down, which is run it up the middle, you know? The trouble is that he doesn't keep his hands properly secured on the ball, and so he steps up in the pocket, I wouldn't say loosely, but like he's been doing for the last couple weeks, and eats a fumble. And it's his 9th fumble that's actually the most in the NFL right now. If you combined his 9 fumbles and his 8 picks, if you're not leading the NFL in turnovers, I would be surprised. But at this point, it's definitely something that Fields needs to watch for. I love his aggressiveness. I love the way he attempts to make a play. When you are stepping up in the pocket and you know you've got a rusher coming, try to keep better control of the ball, because the rusher ends up popping the ball loose, and you just can't do that forever. As a rookie, you'll live with it. It's all learning experience, and I truly believe Fields has learned quite a bit. But the bit here is know when you can step up in the pocket, when you may need to flush yourself out the other end in a curious twist of fate. I actually think if Fields had done the Romo roll, per se, and come out this way, he would have had better odds. But not every situation calls for you to run straight through the front of the pocket and call it a good one. Like, yeah, Medusa, I did. Like, I don't love the effort comments, but that's just me as an analyst. I think everybody ends up too over. Yeah, anyways. The Mitch roll. Mitch roll's not bad. I grew up in Dallas, so I saw Romo do it all the time. Mitch did do it a lot. Like, there's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes you want to go back out the back of the pocket. And Fields has gotten, at this point, if anything, it almost looked like the edge defenders were waiting on Fields to step up because they're ready for it. And so, I don't know. Like, it's definitely, like, ball security. You can't be fumbling, especially on drives where you're starting to put something together. And so, not a good play overall. Let's see here. Moving forward, we'll quickly blitz through a couple more plays. I'm just going to skip some stuff. So, this is a run play. Hooray, it happened. It's the same zone scrape. They pick up another 6 yards. Thumbs in the air, everybody. And so then, this one, you're going to see the Bears call a slant, which you didn't know was in the playbook, but it is. And so, they call a slant. I actually think Mooney gets wide open over here. I think I would have liked to see Fields see it, because this defender goes from creeping on a mug front to dropping into space. And I think Fields, look, he either misses the throw, and he's got to own that he missed the throw, or he throws the ball way over the top of this guy intentionally, so that the dropping defender doesn't have a shot at it. But either way, it's an incompletion. It's an incompletion that could have been avoided, because Mooney, the second read, at least I think he was the second read. A lot of times you're going to have guys go 1, 2, 3, 4 based on where they are left to right. But so he comes there. I think Mooney's a little more open. If Fields did want to just flick the ball to him, that option seems to be there on this second down. But either way, Fields has to own the fact that he spaces the ball way over Goodwin's head. And on a day where you're not completing a lot of passes, that doesn't help anything. Now, could Nagy have called a screen? Could Nagy have called a bubble? Could Nagy have called anything to get Fields a quick completion? Well, he could have, but he didn't. So that's all you get. But so, we got to live with what we've got at this point. But so, let me see here. Anyways, so Fields at this point takes a sack that I didn't love this one. Guy gets held, Anyways, Medusa, I personally completely disagree with you. I think you got to watch more film if you think that Eddie Jackson's playing poorly. I really do. Like, Leno, I get. He played a little more poorly than I think I wanted to admit, especially in his 2020 season. But Eddie Jackson played phenomenal football and is the only reason that the Bears defense was able to put together sustainable and all right results before, like, the reason that the San Francisco and the Pittsburgh debacle happened, let alone this game where they completely collapsed at the end, is predominantly because they lost Eddie Jackson. And if you don't believe that, then you've got to go watch more All 22. You can check out any of the other streams where we talked through exactly what was going on with what Eddie was doing. But Eddie was pretty much the crown jewel of the Bears secondary. And if he ends up back in the lineup sooner rather than later, I think that he'll be able to show it a little bit. It's not about interceptions with Eddie Jackson. It's about being able to take away where people look. But so anyways, getting back to it. Fields takes a sack here that I feel really weird about. Like, I want to pin it on him because I think quarterbacks have to own the majority of their sacks, right? Marquise Goodwin gets the crap held out of him. This is that play that I think everybody remembers, right? Where Fields has a free rusher coming pretty much straight at him off of a green dog. At least it looks like it, because this linebacker doesn't blitz. He just recognizes late, hey, I've got a free lane, and takes care of it. And so he comes at Fields. I think Fields, if he wanted to, could tuck the ball and get out of his way, but he's obviously waiting to see if Marquise Goodwin, who is wide the heck open if he's not held, or at least it would feel that way, can get open because Fields wants to dot it over him. Like, it's the sort of thing that I look at, and I get where Fields' head is at, but you can't take these sacks. And while I know it's brutal to say it, I honestly think that, I honestly believe that I think it's harsh, but I think he got bailed out. Like, the penalty is not always going to show up with defensive holding. You cannot think that just because Marquise Goodwin gets held right here that he's going to draw the flag and that the sack is acceptable. You've got to, if anything, you can see the flag actually came out a little on the late side. I would love to see Fields, the quarterback, recognize, okay, they screwed it up, but I have no idea what's coming, and this rusher's right here. I got to get out and take advantage of the space that we do have, and we'll figure out what we're going to do after that. But this is me being really nitpicky because I think Fields warrants being nitpicky. I mean, this is a quick RPO, by the way, like at this point, where, let's see, did they have the same formation for the first three plays? Maybe. I'm not tracking formations at this point. We're just blitzing through, talking through general observations. But so, quick RPO. It felt like maybe the read man bails and gets out of there. But so, let's see. Goodwin, talking through, or what is it? Do I think Goodwin could be a solid number 3? I think Goodwin can, but like, I don't want to be too hype on Goodwin in particular because I think Goodwin's replaceable. I think Bird looks flat out bad, which can't be too surprising to anybody. But I think specifically Goodwin is the kind of guy that I look at and I'm like, yeah, you could like Goodwin if you wanted to, but there are tons of guys out there, whether it's a draft pick or a free agent that you can find every year that are similarly capable. It's not that it has to be Goodwin, especially when you're re-architecting your offense. But so then here's another one that I thought was intriguing. So Fields throws a curl route and it's a little too far inside, right? Like, let's just get there immediately. So the Mooney runs a curl route. There it is. Fields throws. Ball is too far inside. Then we take a look at this again and take a look at this because this is wild to me. Watch Mooney's route because you're not going to see him go straight curl route. You know what I mean? You're going to see him run. So let's see. You would want it to look like that. I'm going to try to find a way to illustrate this. You're going to see him run just a little outside and then make his curl, right? And so at this point, I legitimately find myself wondering whether all these timing routes are just completely caving because he takes that little step to the outside right here and then spins and the ball is too far inside. So Fields has to own that this isn't a completion. Like, Fields has to own that the ball isn't where Mooney wanted it. But going back to the whole Matt Nagy offense, everything out of sync, especially after the bye week, this is ridiculous. Like, I think that there are so many things that I keep finding myself looking at, and I'm like, the throw isn't exactly open in the first place. Like, it is lucky that it's not picked, don't get me wrong, but it's also wild to just see the amount of contestedness, the amount of people in the wrong spot, in the wrong space. Like, it drives me wild because I think there's so many different offensive concepts that don't involve throwing into trafficked windows like the Bears just seem to lean into doing. But they do. And so Fields misses the play. So what is it? You miss one, you got to make one. We talked about that. So then they're going to throw to Mooney again. It's as if he's truly the only receiver that they have. And I thought this one was worse when watching it live because, like, what is this? It looks like a contested one. Maybe the ball's a little behind him. Could be a whole lot of things. Let's see. Instead, you watch it from the tight angle. You tell me, Bears fans. Is that contested? Is it? Or is it just a drop? Because it looks to me like it's just a drop. Like, I don't want to smoke anybody. We talked earlier about what is it? You gotta, if you're gonna miss a play, you gotta make a play. And this is making enough of a play. First down, you gotta catch this. Mooney doesn't end up with it. I think if it's a better throw, to be clear, or to be fair, right? Because exactly like you're saying, Bob, like, is it or is it lower than you want? Well, yeah, if it's better, right? Theoretically, Mooney doesn't have to bend down for it, and he's still running. At least you would hope so. But you would hope that your NFL wide receiver catches a ball at the knees, like, and then falls over. It's a drop for me. And hey, we've been down this road with Mitch, right? Remember that Taylor Gabriel drop against, was it the Lions? Like, oh man, was it the Lions? Like the one over the middle? There were a bunch with Mitch. Like, there were a lot of of drops that Mitch dealt with. So you got to deal with those as a quarterback. You do, right? But still sucks. Just seeing the way that it worked out, that Fields isn't catching a break from the one teammate that he's actually got on the contract next year. But so let's see here. Yeah, that takes us to halftime. And then after that, like, there's some other things that you got to handle. Let's see here. 32-30. We had a false start here where Fields got mad at Mustafer. I feel like pointing that out, if only because it seems interesting. Like right there, you can see some frustration, walks right up, has a conversation. Looks like Fields flexes him in right there. He crosses, snaps it. Kmet eats a false start off of a ball that was supposed to come to him. At least it's what it seems like to me. But so, find that one interesting, if nothing else. Let's see here. Honestly, Roquan, you're not wrong about Pat O'Donnell becoming a neat little punter. But so, let's see here. You take a look at the next play after this. What is this? 33-25. I think Fields takes a sack that's a little unnecessary. I would love to see the Bears actually bring out like a little bit more in the way of their checkdowns. So you're going to see it's not like a 4 verticals, but it's more like 3 verticals with some other stuff that's going on. And this whole area of the field's going to end up wide open. If they kick Montgomery into it, it's a pretty easy dump off. Instead, they don't. Montgomery's part of the pass protecting package against a 5-man blitz, and Fields ends up getting sacked. Now it's like a 1-yard loss, so it's not the world's worst sack, right? Borum looked fine. Honest opinion. I am Skox. Like, I thought Borum looked okay. Like, if not decent. He's putting things together. His run blocking looked better. His run blocking actually looked NFL passable. But so Fields misses a play, therefore he's got to make a play. That's our rule here. You miss one, you make one. You're not allowed to make, or you're not going to forever make no mistakes. You've just got to hit the plays that you get. And credit to Fields. At least, or on this series in particular, he did. He gets a nice opportunity, makes a 20-yard throw, kicks the ball out, 20-yard gain. Really nice. Like, is this something that you write home about? Probably not this one. This is just a basic, like, deep out. But this was good. Let's see. Yeah, I love this throw. It's good. Wall comments. I feel like I gotcha. But so, anyways, yeah, end up with a couple more passes. We've basically looked at everything, and really the only the play that I know comes to my mind when I think about Fields taking the check down at this stage is I want to see him do it here and a couple of other spots, but mostly I want to see the Bears give it to him because with Mooney running, or not Mooney, this is Montgomery running out into the flat and absolutely nobody there. Like, Bears are running a deeper concept. I didn't quite catch what it was, but when Fields gets out of the pocket, this is where I think he could learn a little bit from. It's Cam Newton that has done it really well, but he's not the first, obviously. You've got Montgomery. I think Montgomery with the ball in his hands is electric. Kick the ball out to him. Instead, Fields decides that he's going to take it himself. I get it. It's instinct. You got to do what you can do. I also think, personally, that there's not a lot of logic to what Fields is doing. Remember, this is the line of scrimmage. This is the line to gain. So he either thinks that he's going to fake this guy out so hard that he's running for the first down himself, or he thinks that it's shorter distance than it is. So if it's me, use as the quarterback yourself, then kick the ball out, let your guy go do the work, and potentially let him make some play after the catch. And yeah, after that at Kusai, we're pretty much done. But so, in my opinion, Fields did not play the grandest game of his career. I still think he looked, I would say, like a stronger quarterback than he did against the obvious candidates, right? Like Cincinnati, like Las Vegas. I thought he really struggled throughout a lot of the Las Vegas game. Tampa Bay, he looked pretty much the same. Well, no, because he really started to fall apart around the second half. Fields seemed to me like he was consistently delivering the ball, did not get great results, and there's a lot of offensive gimmicks around him that I want to see get better. But as a quarterback, I still think he's coming along. It just sucks he got hurt because obviously injury can set back just about any career, in my opinion. But hopefully it won't do too much to Fields. Hopefully he can get back on the field relatively soon. If nothing else, I would be more than happy to, I would be more than happy at this stage to just go ahead and let Fields rest until he's fully ready to play and then jump on in. But so, in my opinion, like, looking at Fields' day overall wasn't the greatest. I think the Bears offense as a whole looks really problematic. Like, I want it to be more schematically healthy before I complain about individual player performance. But that's just my 2 cents. That Alexander, that's certainly the question that I know I have. Like, I don't think he's getting full on Tua'd, you know? Like, what was it, Tua Tagovailoa back in his rookie year? But right here, he gets kicked in the ribs pretty good. Maybe that's what comes with it. Like, the guy flies straight over his ribs, but it's not like that is specifically a rib thing. I don't know. That's just, like, weird one. But overall, like, rough game for Mooney. Even though Mooney did a whole lot of good things. It wasn't a rough game. It was a very neutral game. Like, every time Mooney made a mistake, he made up for it with a big play. Like, we haven't watched the play yet, so we really might as well. Like, it's debatably the best play of Mooney's career to date. Like, that 50-yard bomb that he caught to 54-yard bomb, if memory serves, from Trubisky rolling left is also a wild and awesome play. But in this case, he's about to take a screen pass for 60 yards, breaking 2 tackles along the way for a score. It's going to be tough to top that in terms of raw results. But Alexander may be. Like, in this, but so Bears run, simple bubble screen. It's just a basic RPO. Like, let's take a look here. I always think these are funny because it's not like it's even a direct screen. It's an RPO that's watching these two right here, namely this guy, if memory serves. But so he bites down on the run, which makes it an easy cue for Dalton, who's going to kick the ball out because he's got 2-on-2 over on this side. So Mooney bursts straight up the gut, then decides he's just going to make 2 guys miss right there. Both of them collide, and he's home free. Would you believe it? Andy Dalton, on his second pass of the day, has already scored a touchdown and made Fields look kind of goofy. I think it's funny, like, if nothing else. It's hilarious just seeing, like, okay, and immediately Andy Dalton is the benefit of scheme. Yeah, of execution. Like, it's funny. It's funny watching this, I think. I laughed out loud. But all of a sudden, he was just awesome. But so, or at least the Bears suddenly executed better than they've executed all season. Is it Fields? Maybe. But I doubt it. At least I doubt it. But so, yeah, exactly, Luke. Fields could never make that throw. Anyways, I did want to talk some defense before we sign off. We've gone through the offense pretty good. But so, it was funny watching that play in particular, and the Bears offense in general. They lost to a UDFA. They lost out of absolutely nowhere. And so we went through a bunch of offensive wrinkles. I think we went through good reasoning to fire Nagy, certainly. I think there's plenty of reason too, from both a technical standpoint, even to play design at this stage, but also questionable choices, poor game management, so on, so forth. But so you get the idea. That's my 2 cents anyways. Yeah. Man, I completely lost my train of thought. I'm really feeling the 11:36 on the day before Thanksgiving, on the day before a Bears game. I don't know about y'all, but we got a little bit more we can go through. Certainly, let's go through some defensive stuff. I'm not 100% certain who's playing tomorrow. Namely when talking about Eddie Jackson. I don't know why he would not play on Sunday, but then would play on Thursday. Maybe y'all know, because I certainly haven't had time to look it up with my normal job. But I would tend to think he's not playing, which means that we'll be seeing a similar defensive approach to what we saw today. So let's go ahead and go through some of the ups and the downs. The up is Robert Quinn. It's pretty much just Robert Quinn. The wild part about watching this Bears defense in particular is that, let me see here. Jackson's questionable, Akusai. Man, I wish I ever knew what that was. That's the funny part, right? Roquan is I feel like doubtful is the new out, but questionable is the new you're playing, but we'll see. So the funny thing about watching the Greg Roman attack is that I feel like, because we actually have about an hour where we'll go through some of the best things and the worst things about what Greg Roman did, right? So the best thing that Roman did in this game was that he ran the ball really creatively, and he kept the Bears on their toes with how he did it. At the same time, let's not forget that they were at 9 points before the very last stage of the game. The worst part about Roman, the best part about Roman is his running attack. The worst part about Roman is that he likes running the ball. And so, Quantum, thank you so much. Awesome hearing that. Thank you for sticking around. But so, I think that's the piece of this Greg Roman puzzle that everybody who is a fan of him needs to be aware of, right? Greg Roman is such a big fan of balance and so on and so forth that I would find myself worried if you were, right? If you were a Roman fan and you want to see them pass the ball, Roman's probably not your guy. They will throw the ball, but they're also going to run the ball a lot, because I thought that there were too many moments where I feel like the Greg Roman-led offense kind of ran itself into a hole, right? In this case, they gained 5. Basic rally tackle, nice little outside zone run, nothing specific in this case. But Kevin, you're a Ravens fan? Awesome. Jump on in. So there are a whole bunch of things as we watch this where I love this design. What you're about to see, just as you can see it, is inside zone blocking with the whole offensive line. I can get to the rules better when we get to the back end, with a wide receiver coming across to seal the back end if the running back wants to take it outside, and he does. This is really creative. I really like this kind of thing, because what you end up with is, yeah, censored. We sure were. So the way inside zone works, we've talked about how outside zone looks like that, right? Inside zone's a little different. The gist, as I've always seen it, is that the center is trying to get to Roquan, and then 72 takes the next guy, 70 takes the next guy there, tries to often work his way up. 65, inside zone's kind of goofy. It's not goofy. I'm just trying to like figure out a way to explain it well, because I've gotten to the point where I can recognize when I see it, but I'm not quite able to teach it yet. Either way, you see 77 is going to engage Nichols and then bounce to Smith. These two are both going to engage Goldman, and then he's going to bounce inside. So you've got, that's inside zone blocking. That's what it looks like. Like, these guys try to get to the second level, but they've got this wide receiver cutting across that opens up an outside lane for if the defense overcommits on the inside. The Bears do. The wide receiver takes out Jalen Johnson, a willing tackler, and the running back jets out, makes a play in space, picks up 8 yards. As far as any Ravens fan goes, this is probably very normal. 2 plays, first down, looks easy, right? Like, these are the kinds of running games that I think are really creative. There's a lot of cool things that they do. The trouble gets to this, right? The trouble is, what do you do when the defense makes a play? How do you come back from it? Like, not all runs are going to work. And in this case, the Ravens are going to try to, I can't remember quite who they pulled, but so they pulled 72, who's going to get to, I think it's Blackson, but Blackson and Gibson make a play. Like, let me make absolutely certain. Yes. So watch number 90, who, by the way, has just sparkled. Every time I watch the Bears defense, Angelo Blackson in particular does such a good job of holding and setting edges that he's able to, in this case, force Alec Ogletree, or like give Alec Ogletree and Trevis Gibson a great shot at the quarterback runner while Gibson takes away that outside edge. Like, Blackson helps set this play up, keeps Ogletree free. Ogletree brings this guy down. Now you're looking at 2nd and 9, which analytically speaking means that you're about 4 yards behind the chains. Like, you're not where you want to be. The trouble with the Greg Roman offense, honestly, is that when things are on track, the offense looks like one of the best in football. But what happens when the opposing defensive line makes a play, puts you behind the chains? What do? And in this case, they make a nice little play. Like, they come back from it. You're going to see Kendall Vildor's first beating of the day. Like, quick, takes the snap. Vildor gets totally lost out on the edge. Easy catch. Walks right on forward. Take a look again. We've talked before about how Vildor seems to struggle with zone feel, and you can kind of tell that he's just a little hesitant as he sort of loses his footing, doesn't quite know where he wants to be, ends up almost overcorrecting a little on the outside, fights back for it, and yes, he makes the tackle, but that's a lot of extra footsteps to ultimately allow a first down on, what was that, a 7-yard catch? So 2nd and 9 immediately becomes 1st and 10 again. Bummer. Then, like, you end up with, what is that? Oh, we're just talking through coaches. We'll get to coaches one of these days. The trouble is that I'm hoping that they fire Pace. And if they do fire Pace, then it's not a matter of what coach we get. It's a matter of what GM we get. And then what coach does he bring along? But Brian Dabble is probably still my number 1. It's the easy choice for a reason. He's so pass happy. I love a lot of the way he operates. You're going to get some Nagyism. Like, if you don't want the cutesy play calling, Dabble's not your guy. Like, there's a reason they had that awful 4th and 1. But you get the idea. So the trouble with the Roman running game is that it's so timing based that when Robert Quinn completely predicts the snap count, there's just no solving it, right? Like, take a look at this. Let me see if I can get a good picture here. All right, I've got to try to time it up with the snap. So the quarterback is just now catching the snap. Quinn is fully out of his stance. Nobody else has moved. Like, the guys with their hands in the dirt are still, their hands are still there. Quinn completely timed this. Like, this was a very, very, very well done snap jump. And he just goes straight through, and Mark Andrews, who's supposed to block him, doesn't try, because when a guy gets that deep in, you're hoping that he just goes for the wrong guy, or at least makes a mistake somewhere. Maybe the quarterback pulls it and runs around him, but Quinn just steals the running back basically right out of the mesh point, brings him right down. Quinn has been unbelievable. Like, he's looked like his younger self at like 32, which is crazy, but it's been wild watching him play. Hashtag rule of 3. You get the idea. Bears here catch a break. Like, they turn around. I want you to just ask yourself, if this screen had been on target, where do you think he stops? Right? Like, they make it, or the Roman offense makes a great call here. The Ravens, I think, make the smart play call. They call a screen, something the Bears seem allergic to running. But man, oh man, like if Huntley had put this ball on the fullback, you've got an offensive lineman taking a safety away, another offensive lineman totally free, and a tight end just running. Like it exactly, Case. I mean, it's one of those where like this is wide open. This is a great call because Roquan and Quinn both bite down so hard that Roquan, who normally would handle the tight end sort of assignments, just never sees it. You could see him looking back now like, oh my gosh. But the throw's off and they drop it. Thank goodness. If you're a Bears fan, because that's wide open. Like, that's as good a screen call as screen calls get. Yes, it's the fullback, but man, you get that in his hands, whatever the chemistry issue, and you got what you want. And then from there, I think, is this? Yes. So this one's wild to me because if there's one problem that I would pick on Huntley for, when Huntley switches to runner mode, he definitely pulls his eyes down. I mean, hey, it's his first start. He's a UDFA, right? But so Gibson applies pressure on this blitz from the outside. Huntley steps around it, and he's got his tight end wide open over the middle. That's Deion Bush basically falling on the ground, right? But he never sees him because he's looking outside for some reason, and ends up getting hit by Robert Quinn that just comes in like a freight train, just roaring around the edge. Really nice play on Quinn's part. Nice play on Gibson's part. Gibson had a really productive rushing day. He is coming along, but Quinn soaks that chip, just rips around the edge. He was everywhere. I mean, like, I just want to rewind this. Watch this again. Like, Quinn just flies when he's moving. So he eats this chip from 42, the traditional fullback, and he just keeps running because you never know what's going to happen, and almost ends up with a second strip sack to go with the game. But so, thumbs up from there. Quinn has certainly started earning his money. If anything, I would tell you that I think if there was a massive mistake. So did you guys notice that Romo specifically talked about how Ryan Pace got a whole bunch of calls about the Bears front seven? That people were calling him at the trade deadline, potentially putting in offers, looking for Bears capital. It makes me a little sad. 3.5 sacks in all that the Bears didn't dish Quinn when they could, because a game like this was on the way eventually. Like, I think we all knew that the Bears were not going to make, at least they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. Maybe they were going to make the playoffs, but to hear that Robert Quinn could have been dealt when he was, maybe they'll try to deal with it or deal him in the offseason, but like an in-season trade would have made a lot of sense for somebody playing as well as Quinn was. Go get your ring, man. But that's definitely one of those that I looked at, and I'm surprised Pace made the decision that he did. Let's just put it that way. But so, let's see here. So now, start of the second drive, this is Johnson, makes an awesome play. Awesome play. So the Ravens run dragon. This is a very standard West Coast concept, right? Where let's see. Bears probably should have won, Blake. I agree with you. But so, in case you don't have to eat cap for Quinn, but at least not Quinn specifically. But so the Bears are going to run, dragon with the running back, which looks like this. And Jalen Johnson's going to make a heck of a play here. Like, take a look at this as he realizes, okay, Roquan's got him, but I know where this ball is going because I've seen Matt Nagy run this play in practice all the time. So Jalen's just going to dart down and hit the running back before he ever gets the chance to really make a motion. And you guessed it, Roquan Smith with his first, what's Roquan doing there? Moment of the game, comes and cleans up the tackle. Watch 58, like from the side angle. So he cuts off that throw right here and then just rips it over towards the sidelines and ends up totally under control to blast 33 headed outside. Like, I'm going to have to go through and talk through a lot of the stuff Roquan did because there's some awesome stuff. But so what's funny is that we've always talked, we do this a lot, talking about the Bears making mistakes, right? But In here, I actually think that that the Ravens' right tackle, it's the right tackle, goofs up an assignment. I can't explain it because I'm not 100% certain what this play even is, truth be told. But I can show you that he pretty much blocks nobody. Like, so the blocking rules on this one seem like they're kind of similar to trap, at least a little similar. So they take the snap. You've got these guys moving over here almost as if they're going with sort of a draw. I guess it's not trap at all. Trap is a bad call. But so he's headed out there. He's headed there. He's headed there. He's got him. 70 has to block one of these two, and he blocks neither of them. And Angelo Blackson almost totally blows the play up, and then it gets cleaned up by his teammates. So it's not only like it looks kind of like, I don't want to call it a draw because I don't think it's a draw, Akusai. Maybe it is. Maybe it is kind of a draw. But so Blackson gets the inside edge on 70, who seems like he just kind of gets generally lost, and the Bears pull him down. So, hey, it's not just the Bears that goof up and make mistakes sometimes. It is pretty much everybody. But so, let's see. Next play. I love following y'all in the chat. Y'all go a lot of places that I wasn't anticipating. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Johnson's been ball hungry. Like, the Bears have not been able to create a turnover, and they finally did in this one by sheer luck, unfortunately. Wish I could say it was something else. But man, oh man, I just want to point out how badly Mark Andrews beats poor Duke Shelley on this one. So I want you to take a look at this matchup right here. It's Duke, and it's Mark Andrews. Watch this. So comes off the line, gets a big old paw on Duke Shelley. You could see him right here, and then just throws him. Look at that space. Look at that space. This is the sort of thing where if Cole Kmet wants to be a physical tight end, I want to see more of that. If Cole wants to be more of your move tight end, I want to see more Ertz route running. Right now, Cole's just a little bit too much of the middle. Mark Andrews is a physical force as a route runner in this game. And look at the space this man generated. Look at that separation. Goodness gracious. When we talk about when we talk about a tight end and what should a tight end look like, Mark Andrews is phenomenal. Was a phenomenal example. And I don't know if the Ravens fan is still in the chat, but Mark Andrews was nigh on uncoverable. Like, the Bears didn't have anybody that was covering him, especially not in man-on-man situations. Duke Shelley sure wasn't the guy, and he bails out a gnarly throw. He pulls us down, for crying out loud. Look at that extension from number 89. Generates an absolutely insane amount of separation, pulls down the one-handed catch. Like, oh, this is wild. But so, I mean, Case, that's the argument. If anything, I feel like the argument against drafting Cole Kmet, not to go there, like, I don't want to go there, but the argument against him is less what a second-round tight end looks like, and it's more about why would you draft a tight end in the second round. It's kind of similar to running back, right? George Kittle, 5th rounder. Zach Ertz, 3rd rounder. Travis Kelce, I think he was a 2nd rounder. Mark Andrews, 2nd tight end in the draft. Like, or what is it? Like O.J. Howard, 1st rounder. What is it? T.J. Hawkinson, 1st rounder. Like, a whole bunch of the tight ends that are truly special in the NFL have come from God knows what round. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, Case. 2nd tight end that year. Like, it's the sort of thing that I'm trying, the point I'm trying to make here isn't draft them low. It's more that tight end seems to be a position that you just, it could be anyone. Like, it could be Pat Freiermuth, who looks awesome in Pittsburgh. It could be George Kittle, random 5th rounder in the Shanahan offense. Like, who's the stud tight end? Who knows? But it does feel like intentionally saying it's going to be this guy way high up in the draft doesn't seem to have the return that, say, it does at cornerback or something like that, where it's harder to find your 6th round stud at cornerback than it seems to be at tight end. But I truly don't know anything. I'm just commenting on a trend more than anything, where it doesn't seem as if picking the A1 tight end of the draft class is near the guarantee that you want it to be at something like defensive line, for instance. But so that's just the 2 cents there. Watching Mark Andrews tear the Bears open was wild, crazy route. But so, like, or what is it? Mason, what's going on? Like, that's cool that you just started watching. Nothing wrong with that. But so, let's see. The Florida. Oh man, Alex, I've got nothing wrong with Kyle Pitts. Pitts is an extraordinary athlete. It's tough to find somebody like him. But so, anyways, from here, what is it? You end up with a couple run stops, nice little things right here. Blackson again getting involved. I thought Blackson had another good game. Let's see, here he is. Blackson on this side of the line, gets through, sets the edge, forces the running back into a crowd right there, where Ogletree is able to clean it up. The beautiful thing about watching a really good defensive lineman like Angelo Blackson has been this season is that it's not about the tackles he makes. It's not, it's about the tackles he sets up, because he gets through and he sticks this edge right there. They don't get anything on this right-hand side, and that leaves Ogletree totally free because he went past one guy and he stuck this other one. That's two people, obviously, and two people leaves one less to push, or for Ogletree to take on, and so he just runs right up, makes a tackle. That is what a good defensive lineman does, in my opinion anyways. It's about setting up your teammates. It's a very supportive role, all things told. But so this one was funny to watch as well, because I thought Marsh just drifts down in a wide bear. So bear front in this case being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's almost like this running play just wasn't designed with five down linemen involved, because they just don't see him coming and he just gets a free tackle. It happens apparently on more teams than just the Bears, where you end up with a running assignment that is almost nonsensical, because I don't know who was supposed to block Marsh. If somebody was supposed to block Marsh, it came from way over here and it was completely unhelpful. Who was the one who was supposed to work down and block Marsh? You tell me, because I don't know. And so, let's see. Marsh makes a tackle, sets up 3rd and short. And then, let's see here. I think it's a pass. I think it's a Jalen Johnson in particular. Yep. It's a really nice play by Jalen. So, it goes down as a Quinn strip sack, which makes it look awesome. Wow, isn't Quinn so great? Quinn goes from here, and he just keeps working, and he ends up knocking the ball loose. Awesome, right? But remember, to me, this is the key. This is what matters when you're looking at a lot of these sacks. Is it that or is it important that the defensive lineman that got the hit basically didn't have to make a move for it? You better believe it. The key here is that Jalen Johnson does a great job denying, I think that's Bateman, right? But he denies the Ravens' de facto number 1 wide receiver on an out route and just completely takes it away. Absolutely annihilates this. There's nothing there. He turns back upfield. Oh. There's nothing there. And so Huntley is looking for somewhere to go with the ball. He's just got nothing. He was 100% expecting his guy to win this route. And so as he waits and waits and waits for that to get open, and Shelley covers up his guy, he ends up getting hit by Robert Quinn, who just explodes out of his stance. I mean, watch the closing speed now. So you've seen Jalen Johnson do his part on the play. Watch Quinn go from on the inside. So here he is, let's say this is the start of the run, and look at how quickly he just closes on Huntley. Huntley tries to beat him around the edge, ends up giving up a fumble. Quinn has been on a tear, but it's all set up by good coverage. I have personally completely come around to the idea of, if you got to build a defense, let's talk order of priority. You'd go probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not safety. That's inside linebacker. It's weird drawing this on a mug front. 9, 10, and then 11 is sort of your dime backer or wherever it is, because you've got like a nickel backer, you've got an extra defensive lineman. Like, let's talk defensive theory. You know what I mean? But if you build a crazy, what is it? Like, exactly. Let's see. Another DE. Honestly, Greg, another DE without Quinn's explosive ability might not even have gotten to Huntley. He just blows up to, or like blows out. But so the key here is great coverage from Johnson, your CB1 in this case, sets up a sack that just doesn't get there without the coverage to match. You end up with a pretty good coverage set from here, from I think it's Shelley and Ogletree, who do their parts. Like, Shelley's fighting. I would say Andrews is even open. Well, he was until Huntley rolls out of the pocket. But Huntley was pretty much locked onto Bateman the entire way through. I think it's Bateman. Somebody correct me if it's not. And Jalen locks him off. Like, this is the magic that has created the Bears sack machine throughout this year, I think anyways, has been surprisingly good coverage across the board. Josh T, thank you so much. Unbelievably kind of you. But yeah, defensive theory is a weird one, because you start to get into realizing that interior defensive linemen like Aaron Donald are both rare and really important. And guys like Akeem Hicks don't come around all that often. And how helpful is Khalil Mack? Just to pick on somebody, right? What is Khalil Mack without a pass or a coverage unit behind him at the end of the day? I think that's a question that's worth asking at the very least. Now, it's not a question that we'll get a great answer to. But so, like, it's definitely one that is worth talking about. But so, let's see here. We don't have forever, so let me start just picking and choosing some stuff, because we definitely want to. Thanks, Josh. I'm glad that you enjoy it. But so, we don't have forever talking through defense, so we can play. Probably could have played something. Let me get this going. You're going to see some nice little plays from, for instance, Mario Edwards. Individual plays from defensive linemen always make me happy, because here Edwards penetrates and Goldman runs over, so you get like a nice little 1-2 team sort of thing right there. Thanks so much, Greg R. Awesome. Really cool to see you on board. Happy to have you. But so let's then get to, like, I love watching, defensive 1-2 plays. We can often make defense a one-man game, but here Mario's going to push forward, and because he opens that defender right there, Goldman has nobody in front of him as he runs over and makes the play. And what's really weird to remember about modern defense, right? It's not like defense fundamentally changed. It's more like we started looking at downs and distances differently, right? Where when you force 2nd and 6 in this case, you're good as a defense. You're right on schedule. Like, you're trying to keep the offense 2nd and 5 or worse, 3rd and 2 or worse. And as long as you do that, you're good to go. Avoid those 3rd and 1s. Avoid those 3rd and 2s. Like, as much as you can, anyways. And so the Bears allowing a 4-yard run and getting a stop, thumbs up. Nothing wrong with that. Like, it's always wild watching that sort of thing. Here, Blackson's going to make another play. Like, look at that. Just annihilates the backfield and ends up allowing his guys to come up, make a tackle, force a 3rd and 5. Like, really cool. Blackson has just completely outplayed his contract, in my opinion. That's a really, really nice find from a GM in Ryan Pace that I think he struggled with a lot of things, but Blackson has been sparkling. Like, he's been so much better than I would have anticipated him. This was a really smart Roman play. If you are looking for part of this to be, evaluating Greg Roman, I loved this. Roman realized that they weren't letting Roquan Smith mark running backs. Like, they were having Roquan Smith drop into sort of like a coverage dead zone because they basically didn't want to let the Ravens just run like the running back out to the side and then the Bears lose their best player, right? So they called a swing pass. They just have these two run quick double China slants, and the running back runs a quick swing pass, and watch how open it gets. Like, quick man-to-man on 3rd and down, gets Chandler Jones trying to suss out a whole bunch of space. Your guy is wide open with room to maneuver. Like, very good play call. Very good play call. This is one of those where it's like your UDFA quarterback and your running back, who I think they just signed off the street because I don't think Freeman was near their starting caliber guy. But he's able to easily make the play against Chandler Jones. The Bears backup running or like linebacker because the Bear or Roman had figured out how they were trying to deploy Smith. I think that's neat. But so quick RPO, but I want to start showing off a bunch of Roquan stuff. But so let's go through the Roquan funsies. 42. Let me see. What's the down and distance at this point? Yeah, Christian Jones. I don't know why I keep calling him Chandler Jones. It's just a straight up mistake. But so Roquan does a really nice job here. This is where I feel like he starts to heat up. So watch Roquan. He beats a blocker, which is not normally his game. But so the blocker comes up to get him, and he goes underneath him, just completely submarines to make a 4-yard stop. It's not the sexiest stop in the world, but as a linebacker, all you're trying to do is avoid allowing those offenses to get into gear and dipping underneath the offensive lineman and making a hit like that, completely stopping the running back who had a whole bunch of downhill motion. That's really tough. And Roquan does it well. I mean, this was the sort of thing that almost straight up in one game made me a truther. Yeah, no kidding, Alexander. Like, the 49ers just smoked Roquan with Juszczyk, right? But this was one of those games that had me going, okay, Roquan, okay, you've earned it. Like, you're you're just an extraordinary football player. But so we'll show off a couple more. What do we got? 1925 here. Reinhardt, are you still in the chat? I doubt it. But if you are, let me know. Let's see here. Check out Smith on this play. So it's a quick screen pass that doesn't mean much until Smith gets the opportunity to click and close with violence. I love watching the way he operates. The speed with which he's able to approach people and the hits he lays on them with almost total balance is nothing short of pretty much shocking, at least in my opinion. Like, Roquan's not that big a guy compared to most linebackers, but he's able to move with full lateral speed as he tracks the running back with his eyes on the quarterback, and when he sees that ball come, identifies the hit, grabs him, dunks him on the ground. Like, there's a lot of stuff that Roquan does really well that's just bananas. A couple plays later, what do we got here? 21-45. Check out Roquan and his tenacity, like right here, where you're going to see a quick little out route that DeAndre Houston Carson ends up kind of catching the break, or like catching a break as the guy slips and falls. But let's make sure that we go back. I know, Case, we're stopping at 12:30. Like, make sure that you watch Roquan on this. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Roquan sees the throw, turns around, and look at him get a head of steam. If he turned around, that guy was getting smoked. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they were able to do, like, or that Roquan was able to do. Also, I understand that I'm being a bit, what's the word? Would it be eccentric on this? But like, check out Mark Andrews again. I just loved watching this guy play. Like, here he is against, I think this is Kindle Vildor, as he's able to just take a cover 3 assignment that, granted, it's not doing Vildor any favors. Like, Vildor in this case has outside leverage 100% of the way, and so when Andrews comes up, makes contact with him, it's not even a contest. Andrews could go pretty much wherever he wanted within, like, this circle at this point. He just juts straight out. Beautiful cut. And that's something that if Kmet, just calling it as it is, right? If Cole Kmet can learn to go from physical and straightforward to straight out like Mark Andrews does here, nobody's going to complain about him. I don't think Kmet has the hips to do it. I think Kmet will always be working to try to get close, right? Like, do as best as he can, but that is a really nice route by Mark Andrews with a nice little slide to go with it. And let's take a look here. 27. What's going on, Tony? How you doing? I've seen a lot of Sopranos conversation on the timeline recently, which makes me think of Tony. Like, not you specifically, Tony Brown, but I know that's a big Tony moment. Take a look at Jalen Johnson. This is just another one of those plays where you're like, dang, that guy's pretty good. Like, I would argue this is even like his route specifically. He gives you about 5 yards of cushion, backs up a little bit, and then breaks down with you to knock the ball away. That's gorgeous. That's really pretty cornerbacking. Next play, immediately you'll see we have to talk at least a little bit about the Vildor thing. I feel like it would be disingenuous to not talk about the Vildor thing. Like, there's a couple plays in a row, as a matter of fact, where Vildor just gets beat. It's not just press coverage. Like, it's also off coverage where Vildor struggled in this game in particular. So, in press man, sure, we've seen him get beat plenty of times. But in this setup, he dropped back, took his first step backwards, and it feels to me like he just sort of loses where he's supposed to go. It's not like it's a bad job, you know? Like, what, do I really think that he's going to be some kind of pin missile that's just going to immediately, like, break back and instantaneously hit the guy, take his legs out for a loss of 5 or for a gain of 5? I mean, I would hope so, but that's hoping. We don't do that for safeties. We don't do that for defensive backs. We won't do that for Vildor. But I feel like you can sense a hesitancy in Kendall's game. Like, you can sense, in my opinion, just seeing, like, how he's moving. And, oh my gosh. Alexander, I didn't see that. Like, here's Roquan Smith. Take a look at this. He ends up way over here. Vildor breaks him down. Roquan just comes back and obliterates the guy and makes a tackle. Holy moly. Like, take a look at 58 in this case. Blitzes, ball doesn't come out, turns around, just rips back down the field. That is some apex stuff. Like, that is some I'm leader of the defense stuff. But so, Ravens drop the ball on this. It's Kendall again, which is not great. Yeah, they need a CB and a nickel CB badly, Alex. Like, it's not that these sorts of plays one at a time. The trouble with Vildor is that it's not like it's not like each one of these individually is somehow like a huge problem. A guy giving up a curl route in off coverage isn't an issue. That's like what it's built for. You drop back, you give up the curl, you live to fight another down. The trouble with Vildor is that he made one play and had about 9 made against him, which I think you guys would agree is not the kind of ratio you want. So I at least look at this and think the Vildor problem isn't he's struggling in zone or he sucks. The problem is I feel like he's got no confidence. I feel like he's a small corner being asked to go up against guys like Chase Claypool and plenty of other guys that are just bigger and better than him. It does feel like, Sean, he still hasn't developed a particularly good feel for playing zone. And so he's doing what he can on some of his assignments, but he ends up getting lost a little bit. And then when he does play press man, if you're able to hold on to the ball for about 3.5 seconds, the dude's toast almost 100% of the time. So he's really struggling out there. Bears give up. Ravens, Raven fan, whose name continues to escape me, and I apologize. Ravens hit a really, really nice smash route here that Gibson gets wide open. And I agree with you, Factor. Like, this isn't Vildor's fault. To me, this is Gibson. Look at how far back Travis Gibson ends up on this play. So we're watching 38, right? He backs up, he backs up, he backs up even more, he backs up even more. What is he scared of? And then he ends up not able to trigger down fast enough on a smash route that's wide open. Huntley just misses the throw. Like, this was really well schemed from the schematic perspective. Definitely got the ball right between Gibson and Vildor right here. But the Bears got lucky that the throw was low, or that would have been another 18 yards. But so, let's see here. There's another one somewhere. Oh, we'll do Andrews. We'll do Roquan. But so, let's see. How you doing, Jordan? Great seeing you, man. Happy Thanksgiving. I think it would be really cool to see Graham move. Or Graham being CB2 would be, what's the word, intense for Thomas. I'm not 100% sure he's ready yet. Obviously, the Bears are going to know. I think you move Vildor to nickel. You just do what you can at at outside corner. If it means, for crying out loud, Artie Burns, who cares? Like, I'm at the point where I'm willing to play anybody at any point and just sort of let them go. You know, what's the worst that could happen? They get beat a couple of times, they'll live. But like you're saying, I feel like we're heading into a play the kids phase. And at this point, Jordan, if anything, just to pick on your guys, or not to pick on your guys, but like to promote your guys a little bit, had the Bears gone with like Snowden instead of Quinn and traded Quinn for what they could get, might have been the better move long term. But hey, we'll see. Not trying to freak anybody out, but I'm not 100% sure he does, Alexander. I don't even know who the Bears CB3 is at this point. I just know it's not a good conversation. At least not usually. Let me see here. Roquan, again, on this one. Like, just chases all the way across the field. Jordan, I know you do. My point is that, like, at this stage, if you know the Bears aren't going to be good, or if you know your team's not going to be good, play some kids. Find something you can do. Get Daz Newsome on the field. Why do you need to play Damiere Byrd, for instance? Like, there's an aspect of, like, who cares, right? Just play them, because if you're bad, what's the worst? But like, anyways, Roquan really is a missile, Alexander. Like, look at this. So there he is, 58, breaking back towards the play, and he just keeps coming, brings the guy right down. I think the scariest part for me, Alexander, is watching Roquan operate and seeing how sure of a tackler he is in these open spaces. It's not common that you shake Roquan Smith. Like, yeah, no kidding, Jordan. I mean, signing Brashad Perriman only to cut Brashad Perriman. Like, there's a whole bunch of weird going on. Let me see. Oh, we forgot about this. Oh, man. Okay, so we got to go back a little bit. So this is that 2-minute drive where the Ravens end up getting a field goal. But I have to talk about a really cool play call. And then we have to talk about, let me see. Oh, yeah, this is just so fun. So this is a 4th and 1. Check this out. Check how cool this is, right? So the Ravens are going to, on 4th and 1, have everybody fake an inside run, pull the center, and run it in the C gap with their quarterback, with their running back leading the way. Check this out. Center, oh, wait, no, it's a guard. Even so, like, their backside guard comes all the way around to basically create an edge for the quarterback to jam it up on 4th and 1. I love this. This is so cool. Like, this is one of those things where I'm like, I think this is creative play calling at its finest, because you're going to see the whole Bears defense bite down on the inside run. Why wouldn't they? And like you're saying, Kevin, I'm not surprised it's a Lamar special. I just love the play call, because they try to flow around the outside, but you've just got so many. You've got enough blockers, and you've got a quarterback running the ball that you can just get him up, get him through, and there you go. That's like 8 yards. And then the Bears get caught subbing, because this was just such a bad coaching game from Matt Nagy. and here he gets burned. Like, remember, within 2 minutes, if the offense subs, the defense does not get an equal chance to sub, and the Ravens catch the Bears, not with too many men on the field, but with absolutely nobody guarding him. Like, this is one where Vildor gets tagged for improper coverage. This is 100% not his fault. It's just wild seeing the disparity sometimes in, like, the way that this Bears coaching staff at least handled this. Remember, this is the week after the bye, for crying out loud, and they pull their jumbo package off after a tempo set and get smoked. This is the first half, Bob Fat Cheese. I think they had a timeout. I can't quite remember, truth be told, but it's rough. Let me see. Somebody said earlier, why don't we use this play for Justin? Because the Bears just don't want to. That's the only reason. I think that's an awesome play. Like, that's one of those, like, what was it? Like Kevin said, it's a Lamar special. I think it would work with Fields pretty easily, all things told. But the Bears are allergic to 4th and 1. So what can you do? Let me see. Ooh, well, I got a good one for you. Let me see. Oh, incredible. Like, Jordan, we did talk about that. The first drive was extraordinary until all of a sudden they decided that they had just used up all their offensive karma points and went completely brain dead for that last series in that drive. It was incredible until all of a sudden we called the weakest double curls possible a a draw play on 2nd and 10 and toss crack with a running back that didn't want to run outside. Like, I'm oversimplifying and you know that, but like that whole thing was just terrible. Like that 3-play set, and then surprise, surprise, that was basically the rest of the game. But so, anyways, like let's take a look at a couple more of these. Like we got some good ones that we got to talk through. Like oh yes, 38. This is gonna be the speed round, so just get ready for it. Right, this play. Right here, 37.50. This is the Vildor DPI. You tell me what you think. I definitely sit there and I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Because Vildor tugs kind of unnecessarily right here with the ball in the air. The ball lands like 4 yards in front. I'm shocked they called it, truth be told. I felt like the action was way too late. I would have called this uncatchable. I would have let him go, and I probably would have given him a warning after the fact. But I'm also not a professional referee and don't know if they already did that. But so, either way, surprised that the call came. And then immediately after that, I think it's this play, check out Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith acts on this pass play like he has eyes in the back of his head, like straight up third eye linebacker, where take a look at where Huntley's eyes are. Huntley's eyes are looking at this route right here with a backside dig coming in front of it, and Roquan's just going to sink back and end up in the passing lane. So like there he is in it. The throw is not there. I think you guys can see that. But then Huntley decides that he's going to take his cone of vision and he's going to move it to over there, right? And watch Roquan shift over and end up in that passing lane too. So he covers him. He forces the outside, or he makes him think about he does force the outside throw, and then Ogletree cleans it up from there. It's so simple, right? Just watching what good coverage looks like. I mean, hey, Jordan, I've talked a lot about Eddie Jackson. This is Roquan doing basically the same thing. Like, this is such beautiful coverage instincts. It is extraordinary. Like, it is hard to find linebackers that can take away one good passing lane, like, let alone two. Remember, he's taking that away with Houston Carson over the top, and then immediately taking a couple steps over and taking that one away. And remember, he's watching the quarterback, so he doesn't know what's behind him. It's just some straight up third eye stuff. Like, this is exactly why Mike Glennon threw that interception to Roquan Smith, is because he tested it anyways and he got burned. Huntley makes the smart play here and just kicks it out to the side, and ends up not getting hurt. Watch Smith from the tight angle. You'll see it again. Like, just drops to where he thinks it might be, shifts over a little bit. Ooh, beautiful. Like, really, really pretty. So then, let's see here. I'm so sorry. What is it? I get you, Jordan. Totally. If anything, I would tell you that I think that the biggest problem with the Eddie Jackson dialogue, Jordan, is that if he did have another safety next to him, I think that those two would be awesome. Him on his own is not doing enough. I would even say that. Like, he's doing a lot, but 15 million feels like it compounds when you give him with somebody else, like, that's also going to play quality coverage. But I want to see, like, that's where the salary cap can make sometimes evaluations really tough. I just want to see, like, let's get some investment at safety, whether it's a third rounder, second rounder, so on and so forth. Like, go get a second safety. You could do Eddie Jackson. But so, oh gosh, Alexander, do we have to do the final drive? 47-minute mark. Let's just do some more. We can talk some fun things, but also some bad things, sad things. Big sad things. Quinn just rips around the edge. This is unreal. Like, lightning round again. So take a look at this. Quinn just goes, all right, we're done here. Jumps the snap again, rips around, bends, brings the guy down. Unbelievable. Then they take a too many men on the field penalty. Would you believe it? Goldman can't get off because that's just the Bears this year. So that's not good. Let's see here. 49-20. How big of an impact? Whew, that'd be pretty good, Cody. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, Jensen in the offseason would be a lot of fun. At least I think so. Let me see. Quinn went crazy, Jordan. I feel like he's such an easy trade candidate. So take a look now at Roquan. Roquan fights through it. Nope. I obviously targeted either the wrong play or something else. Oh, that's because I was lazy. It's this play. Probably. This is the magic of notes. Oh yeah, Quan just scrapes and brings the guy down. Like, this is always fun to me. Like, we talk about a smallish linebacker like Roquan. You're looking for him to not get lost in running lanes. He's able to stay on his feet, get to where he needs to be, brings the guy down. We're about it. But so, 51 minutes. Here's some sweet sacks. This one's on Gibson, I think. He's able to rip right through. Him and Quan. No, it's not him and Quan. It's him and Little Mac, isn't it? Like, is this the one where Ladarius gets in on the action? Because I guess he just stayed on it. Bullied his way around the tackle. And Gibson does a lot of the yeoman's work here. Like, check this long arm out. This is some sweet stuff. Like, just gets a nice rip underneath. Meets him at the quarterback. It's fun seeing Little Mac get involved. I guess I never thought he would, but he did. There you go. Jordan, I don't know. My gut says that they could very easily lose. Like, very easily. I think Andy Dalton could surprise people purely because, just saying this, the Bears offense fits Andy Dalton better than it should. Like, it might be the one offense that Matt Nagy has accidentally schemed around a quarterback, but even so, like, things don't look great. And Goff just came back, and Anthony Lynn beat the tar out of the Bears defense last game. So if this is like anything that happened at Soldier Field, they'll lose. The question is, do the Lions have it in them anymore to beat somebody? Like, that's the thing. I mean, it depends on, Jordan, what you're saying. When you say remember who the Lions are, do you mean remember that they're 0-8-1? Or do you remember that they're a division rival that hate the Bears and that think that they could easily not get their season back on track, but that by winning one game they could, what's the word? Yeah, exactly. That's the problem here. They could Lions their way out of it easily, but they might see this as the game that they could break, or that they could finally win and not be the guys going 0-16-1. But that's just me thinking out loud. But so check out Quinn here on this one. Like, what is it, 51-27? Quinn just rips around Villanueva. Keeps working. High motor. Brings the guy down. 3.5 sacks. Let me see. If Andy was here last year, do I think the Bears win more games? Good question, Alex. Maybe. Honestly, hard to tell. We haven't seen enough of Andy. But so, I mean, Case, I don't think you're crazy at all there. 56-30. We got to talk about the interception. I thought this play was downright funny because Mark Andrews gets himself wide open. Wide open. Let me see. Who do we got here? Bucket Stats. Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Quentin. Super kind. Yeah, Dalton's back. So, what is it? Mark Andrews gets himself crazy open, and somehow this results in an interception. Isn't that hilarious? Like, I think it is anyways. Huntley comes out here. He throws a ball that's, I mean, like, I guess it's a little, nah, you'd want him to catch this 100%. And Gibson comes away with it. Like, it totally looks like Gibson's a hunter. Yeah, ball hawk. Like on the stat sheet, but it's not good coverage. It just works out. Like, it's a drop that does land in his lap. It's hilarious. And then the Bears get the ball back. Yay. But so now, because Alexander here is what a masochist, we are going to talk through what no one wants to talk through, but we'll do it. So here's the double move again. Absolutely hilarious. Still so funny to me. This is not a good double move. This is an even worse defense. Like, this is number 21 probably got blasted by his defensive coordinator for being so non-committal, as he just, you know what? Straight line to the quarterback. I don't need a blitz. And Goodwin makes just the smallest little stutter step and just blows straight by his guy. Catches the ball that's just stuck right on his face, heads into the end zone, and the Bears win. Yeah, they win. No, they don't. Because we do this. So, bask in the glory of a rare Bears touchdown. We don't get many of them. But so, let's see. Honestly, Kevin, that's a great question. The only purpose of being at the line right here is to be part of the all-out pressure, right? It's that everybody is going to just jam themselves towards the quarterback. And so when he doesn't go, and he's the only one, and he's got this lane, it blows the whole play up. Because if he goes immediately, I don't think Andy has time to get the throw on line. But instead, it gives Andy just enough time to throw the ball, still get lit up. I mean, maybe it was a delayed blitz, Alexander, but I'll tell you what, it's not normal that you would run a delayed blitz with no safeties. Like, no safeties. This is one of those plays that this is not dissimilar, if everybody remembers this, to the play that the Jets ran when they were tanking. Like, this is a blown coverage. It's a blown coverage. You got to get home faster on cover 0. Like, it's bad. But so, anyways, speaking of bad, Ravens get moving immediately as soon as this happened. First of all, so Vildor interferes. I think we all know that right here he grabs a whole lot of his man, and like, when Deion Bush dropped this, I felt like bad things were coming. I don't mean to be the omens guy, right? But Deion Bush dropping a gift that ended up getting flagged anyways felt like bad things were on their way. Because it's 1:40 left. Like, I'm sitting there. As a Bears fan, I didn't know what I wanted. Because I was kind of like, I mean, we've come all this way. Justin Fields is already hurt. Don't we want Matt Nagy to lose? Like, I don't want to say I was cheering for the Ravens, because I wasn't. But also, I was howling with laughter. Like, that part, I can definitely tell you. Like, Alex, I don't know. Like, why didn't we do most of the things that I feel like sane coaches do? Jordan, I think it's really possible that Nagy gets fired if a loss happens tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, I think it happens when they inevitably lose to the Packers and Lambeau, because they seem to respond to that. But, so, what is it? 23. Who is 23? But is it Marquis Christian? Man, what is Vildor doing? Not to pick on Vildor in this case, but like, so it looks like they drop into something similar to quarters. Look, Brandon, if you're here, you tell me, what's Vildor watching for here, if not the wheel route? Like, what is going on? Because it looks like, okay, it doesn't look like it's quarters, but it looks like it's quarters to this side, with Vildor having dropped off of his spot. But so he gets this wheel route that comes up at him and just never sees it coming. Credit to Huntley, I guess, who sees it and throws it. But Vildor looks totally lost. Like, and so ends up making the tackle there. Like, Brandon showed up right at the end. like as we're closing up. I'm already late, but this is one of those where like I know I was sitting here like, what is going on? But anyways, getting back to it, let's see here, because I can't actually remember what they run. Yeah, here I'm just watching this along with y'all. We'll just bask in the moment, you know? But so, Bears get a sack. You're almost thinking, maybe they'll get out of this. Maybe, just maybe, the Bears will make this happen. They'll do decently. What is that? DeAndre Houston Carson comes over. Roquan helps make yet another tackle. Bears are slowly chewing their way down. You'd hope that the guy makes the tackle the first time, like Houston Carson. But at this point, you're taking anything that isn't out of bounds. And so, it's not like it's good play, right? But you're kind of just moving on, hoping that maybe on third down, you could force another one, because they're slowly but surely running out of time. And so then, incompletion. Oh, we're all there. Everybody's ready, right? Oh, man. Yeah, exactly, Case. They dropped a pass. Fourth down. Anything can happen on fourth down, right? And then, here we go. Huntley seemed like a really good player. Like, oh, man, I forgot. Did they take a penalty? Oh, was it holding? Ooh. Wide open. Let's take a look here, because I haven't actually taken a look at this yet. How does he end up wide open? Let's see here. Well. Okay. So I'm totally taking a shot in the dark. And I'm truly going to tell you right now, I have no idea what this is. Not really, anyways. But it looks to me like if I was going to design the defense, it's Gibson that would need to go back up here. At least that's my 2 cents, right? That Vildor coming over and basically man following his guy isn't that unusual, especially since these two seem pretty much man-locked. Like, that's not unusual. He's man-locked there. But Gibson has his eyes on Huntley, and I would think that he needs to get back over there. Okay, they don't lock on bunch. See, that's exactly why it's good to have defensive people here, at least so that we can hear the idea. But so it's Vildor then. I could believe it. I mean, he locked his tweets immediately afterwards, so he knew he had a terrible game, and something like that would definitely be something I wouldn't want to hear about. But so somebody's got to take the guy. Like, whether it's Gibson, whether it's Vildor, somebody's obviously got to take 14. It was pretty hilarious just seeing the Bears get this far and yet still lose with, what is that? Bush comes over, delivers. I mean, like, to say it's a solid hit is to be a little bit over positive, for lack of a better way to put it. And hey, Medusa, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about him, or like, what is it, that 21 might be looking at the running back to release. If anything, I guess I'm a little surprised that he would. I get it, you don't want to let up a screen, but calling cover 0, are they really just looking for a 7-man blitz? If that's the case, I really hate the call, because I feel like he ended up with the freest rushing lane and would have made the difference. It's a good play by Dalton in that case, but certainly that's the kind of play that I would look at and I'd be like, you gotta take the 8-man pressure. It's still a blown coverage, if not, because the pressure didn't get home quick enough. On 4th and 11, you let the team score. It's totally unacceptable, but I get it. 21 easily could have been looking at that. That makes a lot of sense as to what he would be paying attention for, that he's trying not to get basically snaked off of like a running back release, ending up with like a wide open screen. Makes sense. Good call out. But so, let's see here. Why didn't they show Virginia's reaction? Of course. But so, I don't know. I wish they did. Like, I wanted the Virginia angry moment. But so, Vildor lets up. It sounds like it's Vildor. Lets up that banjo coverage. And then Ravens run right in. Back. Broken. You know? Like, I would have loved to see the Virginia reaction, the Virginia cam on this touchdown. If only because I'm completely masochistic. But oh yeah, Alex. I mean, especially since Eddie went down, it feels like the Bears just get completely lost on those third and longs. But either way, that was the end of the game. At the end of the day, I will tell you that I think that it was a better result for the Bears than meets the eye. Like, it's a bummer, but losing probably helps them at this stage more than it hurts them, especially losing to a UDFA quarterback, because it sucks for the coach. Like, the Bears need answers. They need stability. They need firm decision making. And Nagy losing was probably the best result. Like, coming out of the bye. It sucks, right? I'm the one wearing the Club Dub shirt right now. Like, era over. But I do think that that was the best result for the Bears, like, in this state. Personal opinion. So what is it? Brandon mentioned predictions. Predictions are hard, but I think the game's going to be tight. I really think a couple bounces of the ball are going to be everything. Like, whether it is the return of like a Nichols-esque interception, whether it's like a completely clean game, whether Goff gets hurt, whether like Foles ends up taking time. I mean, the goofy part about it is that I think Foles could beat the Lions and Andy Dalton could lose to the Lions. Like, there's a lot of variance here. And so I feel like the Bears are too talented. Like, a Robert Quinn, Jalen Johnson, Roquan defense, even with Kendall Vildor, is enough to beat the Lions, especially because the Lions shut down Cephas, right? Cephas is done for the year. Like, their if you will, their sparkliest, best receiver isn't playing. Remind me. But I think this is one that I would say basically, like, Brandon, I think the Dalton-led offense will be boring. I think the Dalton-led offense will be, like, what's the word? It'll be slow. It'll be, like, 5 yards at a time, if that. And I think that they'll be, like, I think they'll win 21, maybe 24-17. Like, I do think the Bears win. It would be hard for me to imagine the Bears losing. Now, they've lost other games, but I feel like this is the sticking point. And exactly like you're saying, Alexander, I mean, like, the Bears have owned the Lions in the Nagy era, period. And I don't know why this would be different. If anything, let me tell you with a straight face, I think this will be a more fun football game than people realize. Like, I think Eddie Jackson may play. I think even so, or like, let's say Eddie Jackson doesn't play. Like, let's go there. If Eddie Jackson doesn't play, the Lions have the ability to move the ball. So they'll do that. And then the Bears will probably be able to move the ball against the terrible Lions offense. I think that it's not going to be the Big Ten game everybody anticipates, and that it could be, I don't want to say high scoring, it's not going to be Pittsburgh, Los Angeles. That game was nuts. But I wouldn't be too surprised if the Bears were able to score about 21, 24 points. It's the Lions, guys. But so, we'll see what happens. Like, either way, let's get some sleep, because they literally play tomorrow. It's Thanksgiving Eve. Actually, according to Central Time, it's Thanksgiving. So, everybody, have a great rest of your night. Weird one here in Baltimore. Ultimately, probably for the best. But hopefully, more than anything, Fields gets healthy. Happy holidays all around. Like, it'll be a fun season. I'll still be here, obviously covering the games. So feel free to stop by, and hang out. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Support me however. I appreciate literally anything. I am so unbelievably thankful for each and every one of you that tune in ever. Y'all's viewership is ultimately like it's what keeps us going here on the channel. It's simple, but really though, like we can't do it without you. And having the ability to get to an audience of more people is just super like I am over the moon with how 1 a.m. brain. Gratitude. Grateful. Man, I really struggled with that. How grateful I am for just all of y'all's support. But yeah, I will catch y'all soon. Have a great evening. Ooh, another look at that nice little throw. And I'll catch you soon. Talk to you later. Bear down.